A beautiful sun-splashed afternoon in Grandview, Missouri as we get ready for track and field action here on Spectrum Sports. The track season is finally underway as the Grandview Invitational is coming your way next on Spectrum. Hi everybody, I'm Rod Zook along with Chet Copeland. The start of the track season is finally here. We have a beautiful day, and Chet, you couldn't ask for much more. Sunny skies, a little bit of wind. It should be a great meet.
Yeah, the first meet of the year here in April, Grandview, Missouri. Beautiful day, as we mentioned. So a lot of people out here just kind of getting into the swing of things. It's the first event of the year, and a lot can happen from a high school kid when they're a freshman to sophomore, sophomore to junior, junior to senior. So exciting to follow some races and some field events today.
When it's your first meet of the season, and for a lot of these schools it is, what do you want to see from a coach and from an athlete?
Well, I think the main thing that you want to see here is you want to kind of break in the season, kind of figure out where everybody's at, maybe get a relay, get a good time, get a time on the board. I know some schools here are sending athletes here just to get a time because there are bigger meets this season. Let's not strain yourself in the first meet of the year. You're not going to go out and throw a 200-foot discus throw and meet one. Maybe you do, maybe not in these conditions today. A little bit windy, but still beautiful. But you're looking for some good marks and just looking to get the season underway, and staying healthy is most important.
It is a beautiful day. Temperature in the 60s. It's going to fall back into the 50s. Stay with us. The middle distance runners take center stage. It's the girls and boys 4x800 meter relay. When we come back, you're watching the Grandview Invitational track meet on Spectrum. Welcome back to Grandview, Missouri, the Grandview Invitational, home of the Bulldogs on a beautiful day. Again, Rod Zook along with Chet Copeland. Chet, we're just about getting ready for the 4x800 meter relay. It's really a good event because it gives you a chance to kind of just see what you have in the middle distance kids, and it gives them all a chance to run where you might be limited by 2 or 3 or 4 athletes being entered in a particular meet.
Yeah, going to start out with the 4x800 relay here today. So probably a lot of nerves from a lot of the kids in these races for their first meet of the year. But that's going to change real quick as they start out the races today. So definitely looking forward to some outstanding athletes today. We're not going to probably see anything crazy off the charts in the first meet of the year, but you just never know. We know it's definitely April, and it is time to get the track and field season started.
St. Teresa's will start in lane 1, Lee's Summit in lane 2, Lincoln Prep in lane 3. That's Grandview in lane 4, and Odessa in lane 5. Just 5 schools will run in this first heat of the girls 4x800, our first race of the afternoon.
Yeah, and St. Teresa's Academy comes in with the top seed time here today. Let's not pay too much attention to this because some of these people may be thrown into this relay for the first time. They have a 10-minute seed time, 54 seconds faster than Lee's Summit, who is obviously started out in lane 2 at 10:54. Lincoln Prep at 11:20. Grandview 12:20.98, and Odessa 12:58. So this is a race where you look at the beginning time of the year towards the ending race at the end of the year, and it's completely different because everybody can shave off a lot of time in an 800-meter run. Well,
that's a pretty impressive first 200, 29 seconds. We'll see if that can hold up. Get a camera on that and see who that is out in front, but that is an impressive start.
And just 5 of 14 schools competing in this open event.
And that's Katie Riffle running the first leg for St. Teresa's. Well, she got off to a good start here, now kind of slowing down a little bit, but that's still an impressive first 400 meters, just under the 70-second mark. So Riffle out running strong.
And if you really break this down with a 10-minute race, you're looking at obviously 4 girls running a 2:30 in the 800. That's not going to happen for all 4 of them. One of them may run a 2:15, the other a 2:40, but that is definitely a good start to come around 1:10 on the opening lap.
And of course, half milers, if you're not familiar with track, half milers are usually the last kids to get in shape because it is just kind of in between a sprint. It's a little bit of a distance race, and they're usually the ones that are the last kids to really kind of hit their stride in track. So the numbers may get a little askew here. The seed time was again 10 minutes. We'll see if they can do that. Like you said, that's 4 2:30s, and 2:30 this time of the year is pretty solid in girls track.
Absolutely, it's really solid, and Katie Riffle going to be handing off to Lily Hupke up here as she gets ready to pass the baton in about 100 meters. And, you know, looking on pace, probably about a little bit over a 2:20 at this point, which is an outstanding time for a first leg in the first meet of the year of a relay.
That is an outstanding time. She is going to just get under 2:30 for this time of the year. That is outstanding. Unofficially a 2:27. So an outstanding time for Katie Riffle from St. Teresa's. And they are already stretching that lead out to about 100 meters.
And what's really cool about this relay, sometimes you'll see people spread apart. They may run 100 or 200 or 400. This is kind of a race where you may have a 1600 or 3200 runner. Obviously, some of these are bigger schools, so you might have a lot of these 800 runners here, but it's one of those races that kind of people are throwing around. Same can be said kind of for the 4x4. As this is kind of, I guess, your mid-distance race, if you want to call it that, even though to me, it's just a flat-out sprint.
It is just about a flat-out sprint anymore. Nice stride here. We've talked about the weather. There is a little bit of wind, and it is going to go into the runners kind of at an angle down the back straightaway. If they're going into the wind at all, and there's not a lot of it, it's going down the back stretch. But there you see, that is Hupke. Just very smooth. Look at the hands. The hands just below shoulder height on the upswing. Very straightforward, very straight back. Just what you want to see with your middle distance runners. And looking very solid right now.
Yeah, and that was about a 110 lap there, so about the same as the first girl in Katie Riffle that runs. So a solid opening leg for Lily Hupke on leg 2.
You know, how important is it to try to not get too excited? Your first race of the season, you're stepping on the track, or second. For some, it is the second race. For a lot of these teams, it's the first. Try not to get too amped up and blow yourself up in the middle of a race, especially one like this.
And we see that a lot. Somebody may, jump out to a little bit of a quicker start than they want to, and it's kind of slowed down on the second lap. But so far, so good right now for St. Teresa's Academy. And it's always tough whenever you're kind of racing against time. Now, there is, somebody trailing probably about 50 meters away, but they're pretty out in the open here.
Well, it's pretty hard to make any kind of decision to go and chase after someone. You'd like to think that in the 800 meters, if you're within 50 meters, 60 meters, 70 meters, that maybe you can take maybe a little bit more of a chance than you normally would and go after that person and try to run them down and then see if you can hang on and at least stay within shouting distance for your next 2 legs. But that is not even close to the case right here. We're at 4:55, 4:56. They're going to hand this baton off just short of the 5-minute mark. That's a 4:59 mile for the first 2 legs, and that is pretty stout for this time of the year.
Absolutely. Australia Hernandez on the 3rd leg here, and they're right on pace time exactly for what they put in at a 10-minute seat time. Now, I don't know if that's something that they did in an inter-squad meet or what they thought, or maybe from last year, because, maybe some of these girls aren't all back from last year, but they are off to a solid opening start here. We talked about that 10-minute. That's 4 girls running 2:30, and that's very, very solid to do at the first meet of the year.
Amina Massey, Naomi Madrano, Estrella Hernandez, and Story Downing running for Lincoln right now in this race. Also for Lee Summit, that's Emma Auding, Selena Urquezo, Mia Moore, and Abby Wallace. Those are the 4 running for Lee's Summit in this meet. Again, just 5 teams decided to participate in this. We'll see if they bring anybody else back in the regular 800 meters and the 1600, and of course the 3200 all coming up as far as the distance races go. Following this, of course, it's the boys 4x800 meter relay. There'll be 7 teams in that race. And then we'll start with the sprints. That will include the girls' 100-meter hurdles. You can see the hurdles lined up mostly on the track right now. They'll fill in the other 2 lanes when we get ready to go with that. But it is St. Teresa's, and they're looking pretty strong right now.
Yeah, a definite good mark to open up the season, maybe put you on a leaderboard out there. Not a lot of stuff, statewide has even been inputted because there's not been a lot of meets out there so far. A few meets on the 22nd, 26th, and 28th, but now, April underway. So starting to get some meets under the belt, and really the first meet of the year within this area. So if they can get under that 10-minute marker around it, that's going to be an outstanding time to kick off the 2019 season.
Grandview girls also in this, of course. That's Sierra Dyson Hanks, Alexandria Macias, Michaela Smith, and Fatima Flores making up the Grandview girls 4x8. You know, they have had a pretty nice year in sports. The boys back-to-back state championships. The Grandview boys track team has been pretty solid for the last 10 years or so. They've got a number of state titles in Class 4, and they're looking to do that again. We're going to see a hurdler coming up here in just a little while that is going to really shock you. He's already been under 15 seconds this very young season, and he's going to be something to watch, and that would be Damani Banks from Grandview. And that will be coming up here in just a little while here at the Grandview Invitational.
And you look at the top mark in the state right now of Missouri, according to Mile Split, coming into today was 9:30.67 by Lee Summit West. Ran back on the 22nd, so that's an outstanding time to kick off the 2019 season, which was not too long ago. So anytime you're under 10 minutes in this race, I feel like that's a pretty legit time that will put you maybe up to state, depending on it. And, you know, we're Kansas guys. We talk about the Kansas meet. We do the Kansas meet every year, and it's a little bit more difficult to get to state in Missouri.
Well, it is. You have actually 3 steps. In most places you go to regionals and you go to state. Here you have district sectionals and then the state meet, and you've got to make it through those first two steps. And those 2 steps start getting pretty hard because the talent curve starts getting pretty high once you get up past the district. So you start getting into sectionals, you're starting to get the best of the best right there before you make it to state. So that is a long road, and if you're a distance runner running the 2-mile and you're going to run 4 straight weekends like that against such good competition, and you really have got to put your you got to put your best effort in there, and it definitely does show. But here we are, just about ready to wrap things up here. 1 leg to go. It is St. Teresa's, and this is the bell lap. Going to be an easy win. That is Grandview's Michaela Smith. Or check that. That is Fatima Flores running for Grandview, just going into the first turn, just passing the finish line.
And Addie Coppinger coming in here on the final stretch here and looking like they could just get under 10 minutes here, which their seed time right at 10 minutes. Which
that is an outstanding time for this first or second meet of the year as she hits the line just right at 10 flat. That speaks volumes for this time of the year. They were considered to be one of the favorites in this meet, and not just in this meet, but looking well ahead into the season. That is a time that will certainly get people's attention.
Yeah, the top mark in the state we talked about entering, 9:30.67, Lee Summit West. Now, we expect these times to get faster throughout the year. You know, I don't know the official time on that. It looked like it could have been 9:59 something, but it was right at it. And they came in, as we mentioned, right at a 10-minute flat. So kind of a perfect pace among all of those girls as well, coming across out to some outstanding first legs and a solid finish, because there was no competitors really remotely around within that. So when you're racing against time, that's always impressive to do.
That is Lincoln Prep, and here comes Grandview in 3rd place. And when you look at that, that time is still not all that bad. We're looking at just a little over 11 minutes. And Chet, that's really not even that bad, but that was such a statement made by St. Teresa's in that heat. We still have 2 more runners out, and we'll be wrapping things up here in the girls 4x800. While we do, let's run down the lineup for the boys 4x800 meter.
Looking at the boys 4x800 at Grandview, 8:45 seed time. Lee Summit will start out in lane 2, 9:05 seed time. Harrisonville, 9:35.66. East at 9:40. Odessa at 9:44. St. Michael doesn't have a time entering, and Center, the 7th team within that. So 7 of the 14 schools competing in the boys 4x8, while just 5 on the girls side. Top seed time, Grandview at 8:45, followed by Lee Summit at 9:05.
That was Odessa just finishing.
One left.
At a time of 12:02. And we'll get the guys on the track. You know, the one thing that you learn very quickly in the 4x8, especially the first race of the season, is protect that baton. Now, of course, there were just 5 in this first race. There's only going to be 7 teams in this second race, so it's not quite as frantic as what you see in some meets where you're getting 10, 12, 13 teams out there all at one time. This is just 7, so it's not quite as bad. But you really do. You have to protect that stick. You've got to protect your space around you until you make that cut in around the first corner.
Yeah, at State, you see every year, especially in Kansas, because we'll have 16 people out running the 4x8 whenever they take the tracks. It's crazy how many people are out there. And most of these people all year are only going to run against one heat. Maybe there's 5 teams, maybe there's 7 teams, maybe there's 8 teams, whatever it happens to be. So exchange zones may not be crazy this time of the year, but it certainly can change as you get to more of a competitive atmosphere where there's top teams and there's a set amount of teams where you know that's going to be as many teams. So yeah, handoffs and that, you always want to protect that, even though you may not be thinking of it, because it's not a crazy exchange zone like you see in the 4x1 where it has to be perfect.
One thing that is unique here, and a lot of meets you will see a 4x8 that will start in lanes. This is actually going to be a waterfall start, which means you can cut in right away instead of some meets where you will see the teams go all the way around the first corner and then blend in at the end of the second turn, which in this case is at the southeast part of the track. These guys will start at a waterfall, which means they will cut in immediately, as you see them doing that now.
And Dennis Hill and Grandview, you know, they're the top time entering 8:05. He's the first runner here, along with a team of Reggie King, Jonathan Velasquez, and Angel Roca. So Grandview may be the team to watch here with an 8:45 seed time.
Boy, and Hill not wasting any time. He is getting out to a good long stride as well. That is a 25 first 200. That is bringing it pretty good. You're looking at about a 52 first quarter.
And to me, it looks like he's a 200-meter runner out there running an 800. A nice long stride and built perfect for this race, but off to a pretty quick time on lap number 1.
Lee Summit in second place, Odessa in third. But that is a 55 first quarter.
It's very solid for your opening leg.
Well, you're looking at him now. He runs a little stiff in the arms, kind of leaning back just a little bit. You got to wonder, the whole thing right here, especially this early, is just try to stay as relaxed as you can. The others thinking about trying to give a little bit of a chase, but right now it's about a 50-yard lead for Dennis Hill. He hits the 600 mark, still under 2 minutes, 1:25 at the 600 mark. Just 150 meters to go in this leg.
And his teammate awaiting Reggie King as he finishes up this last 100 meters.
Boy, look at him. He's really starting to struggle now. He's certainly glad he's probably getting some downwind help right here. Chin is back a little bit, but still looking strong. He might get past the 2-minute mark. He's starting to just tighten up a little bit. He's at 155, 157. He's going to hit the line just at about 2:01, but an excellent start for your first race of the year.
2:01 is a time that you see often that could place you up at a state meet, a sectional meet, whatnot. And this guy runs it on his opening leg of the first meet of the year. So Reggie King, the second leg within that. Right now, obviously, you know, they'd be on a lot faster pace than that 8:45 seed time they have. About a 8:08 is what they'd be on pace for. I wouldn't expect that in the first meet of the year. That would be absolutely crazy, but you just never know.
Reggie King running right now. Let's run down Harrisonville's 4x8. That's Gabe Mead, Nick Safels, Jackson Messing, and Josh Dreyer. That is making up for distance. The center boys, Charles Rivera, Jordan Lowry Riggins, Deontay Brown, and Ben Lahan. Xenia Johnson, Jack Wheeler, Davis Waiter, Daniel Rogie for Team St. Michael's. And again, Lee Summit, Luke Burns, Sebastian Given, Joey Leaf, and Clemens Ludwicki making up that 4x800. But right now it is Grandview out in front, the team in the black, but they're starting to get a little bit of a challenge now. From behind, the lead is down to about 20 yards, and it is closing quickly.
And he came through on
It
that
is
lap
Lee
about
Summit
68.
that is closing the gap.
Reggie King's first lap about 68 seconds there, so about a 2:16 pace for him. So that's narrowed the gap a little bit after that outstanding opening leg of 2:02 by Dennis Hill.
Lee Summit, that's Sebastian Given, really trying to give chase now. He's got his chin back, really pumping his arms. But it is still Grandview in front. Lee Summit has been able to close the gap a little bit. Now a strong kick for Grandview.
All right, let's go now, let's go, let's get it. Turn over.
Lee
Go,
Summit.
baby, go.
That is Joey Leaf anxiously waiting for the baton. He is going to get that stick about 60 meters behind. See if he can make up any ground right here in this third of 4 legs of the 4x800.
Jonathan Velasquez on the leg, free for Grandview here.
Looking very strong, leaning forward just a little bit into the wind, but still with a lead that is about 30 yards right now. That was a good kick for King there. That kept Lee Summit just a little bit at bay right here. We'll see if Lee Summit can close the gap a little bit right here. Right now it is Grandview still out in front. We're just at the 5-minute mark here. So 3 laps to go in this 4x800. One here and then the last leg.
Come on, Joey.
Track guy, track coach.
Close it.
How much can you
Close it.
shave
Come
off
back, you're
in a
good.
4x8 from the opening of the year if you have a pretty good team? And let's say you got guys running 220s, 230s on this race. I mean, each guy, they could shave off 15, 20 seconds if they wanted, right?
Well, you're hoping you want to be able to get that first lap and really work on it. Then you want to start working on the second lap. And some people like to reverse split those laps. Some people like to just put their effort into that first lap and then hang on and see what they can do in the second one.
Hey guys, wait,
but you're
please.
looking at kids that are starting out. If you're starting out at 2 flat, you got to figure you can get yourself down into the 155, 156 range, maybe even a little bit better than that by the end of the season. If you have a good, healthy year and the weather stays nice, you can put up a pretty monster number right there. You're looking at a team here, Grandview, if they hang on and if their second and third legs start to improve just a little bit, they could have a pretty solid year. Right now, here comes Velasquez, driving hard. Lee Summit not able to mount any kind of challenge now, falling back about 40 yards as we prepare for the last leg here. And they will hit the exchange at about 6:32. Lee Summit coming in next at about 6:39.
And Angel Roca on that final leg for Grandview. He runs a 2:23 on this, which I would think that he could run faster than that. That would beat their seed time coming in at 8:45. So off to a pretty good pace right now.
Seat time 8:45 is a little, I think it's pretty conservative, really. You should be able to be running in the 8:20s, 8:30s. 8:45 is maybe a little bit conservative right now, but it is so hard to tell. The weather has been so bad. You know, we talk about that every year. The weather is this, the weather is that, but it really has been tough this year. And you're just not getting the kids out and getting them the speed work that they need, especially if you're an 800-meter guy. You want that speed work that you can get out there and get some work in and get fast again, because you're in pretty good shape already. It's just a matter of getting out there and being able to put in the fast mileage that you want. This is Roca. He's starting to tighten up just a little bit. I know he is more than ready to get this race over with. Grandview still out in front. It is Lee Summit in second. St. Michael's in the green and blue. Just crossing the finish line with a lap to go. Right behind them, that is Harrisonville. They just crossed the finish line, starting their last lap. But here comes Grandview. The Bulldogs are going to win the boys 4x800, the #1 seed, living up to that in a nice time of 8:43. So just a few ticks under their seed time. They hit that just about right. Here comes Lee Summit, the #2 seed, and they're going to run just about 9 flat. Coming up next, here comes Odessa. They're powering past Kansas City East for 3rd place. Casey East will end up in 4th, 9-10 and 9-12 respectively. A couple of runners still out on the track. Coming up next, it will be the first of 3 heats of the girls' 100-meter hurdles.
Get over. Come on, kid. Come on. Come on, man.
Coming to the finish line. A nice kick. Harrisonville finishing their 4x8 in a time of 9:40 unofficially. And here comes Kansas City Center. And that will wrap things up here in the boys 4x800 meter relay. Center finishing. It looks like it's going to be about a 10:03. Off to a good start. I'm calling those pretty good here for the first track meet of the year. So that is it for the 4x800. It's Grandview winning in a time of 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Let's take a quick timeout, and we'll be back with the first of 3 heats of the girls' 100-meter hurdles. You're watching the Grandview Bulldog Invitational Track Meet on Spectrum. Welcome back to Grandview. We have some results for you. Let's go to those. The finals of the men's and women's 4x800.
Yeah, the girls 4x800 in 5th, Grandview 12:23.55, Odessa in 4th at 11:56.94, Lincoln Prep at 11:03.64 in 3rd, Lee Summit at 10:49.48 in 2nd, and St. Teresa's at 10.19 to take 1st place within that. The boys 4x8 in 7th place, Center at 10:02.68, 6th, Harrisonville 9:40.50, and 5th place, St. Michael at 9:30.69, and 4th, East at 9:12.27, Odessa in 3rd at 9:10.60, Lee Summit in 2nd at 8:59.91, and Grandview, your champion, at 8:43.03. So outstanding time for St. Teresa to start out the year for the girls 4x8 at 10 minutes, .19. It kind of stands out to me so far.
Boy, it does. That is an outstanding time. He said that is a statement very early in the season when you're already running down around the 10-minute mark in the girls 4x8. Girls 100-meter hurdles coming up, the first of 3 heats.
Yeah, in lane 4, Shante Graham of Belton. Lane 5, Natea Coleman of Center. In lane 6, Kylie Allen of Center. 3 heats of this time finals.
Time finals, of course, means that there is no prelims. Whatever you run is what you end up with, and the fastest time of those 3 heats is the winner.
And none of these athletes have seed times coming in, but a fastest seed time in heat 3 at 15.88.
So a bit of an unknown right here. We'll see what we come up with.
Set.
Go, Graham.
Out very quickly, that is Allen. Loses a little bit of a hurdle, but now out in front, that is Graham. Graham's opponent, and then that is check that, Coleman that goes down. Coleman hits a hurdle hard, but it is Graham over the last hurdle and powers through for the win in a time of just under 20 seconds. It's going to be 19 and change unofficially. Look at that replay. You see Coleman in some trouble. She got off balance right there from Central and then hits that last one. She hit those first two hurdles, and Chet, she just never could get her rhythm back.
Yeah, and no matter how many hurdle races that you're at, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or at a state meet and there may be 12, somebody's going to fall down somewhere along the line. Such a tough race to run. And not only is this a tough one, when they jump into the 300s, just as crazy. So as we go into heat number 2 here, Mackenzie Ammons of East, Kennedy Claypool of Odessa in lane 3. Lane 4, Maddie Ellis of Odessa. Lane 5, Arian Richardson of Raytown. Lane 6, Corey Whitaker of Grandview. And in lane 7, Shardera Ellingberg of Central.
That time for Graham was 1987. Here we go. First of all, that is Ellis in the middle in lane 4. They are in the blocks. Now up and away and very quickly in the outside lane. That is Ellenberg. Ellenberg looking very strong in lane 7, pulling away. Ellenberg with just one hurdle to go, just clips that one. But across the line, that is under 17 seconds, and that is an outstanding time for Shadera Ellenberg from Central Academy. Wow.
And she had no time coming in. The top time coming into this was Maddie Ellis at 19:56. So you never know what you're going to see the first meet of the year. In some ways, you know, some of these people are thrown into a race for the first time. So don't know the case there, but pretty impressive to see her run away with it there. In section 3 here in lane 1, we'll have Jillian Gio out of Smithville. In lane 2, Allie Andrews of Smithville. Lane 3 is Kate Anderson of Lee Summit. Lane 4, Amaya Davis of Winnetonka. Lane 5, Sinai Kinchin of St. Teresa's Academy. Lane 6, Jamera Colon of Raytown. Lane 7, Gabriela Mesa of St. Teresa's Academy. And in lane 8, Marcelina Martin out of Lee Summit. Race to watch here is in lane 4 between Maya Davis. Winnetonka comes in with a time of 15:88. Pretty quick time, and we have a couple girls, 3 girls overall, under 17 seconds, and Kate Anderson of Lee Summit in lane 3, and Sinai Kitchen and St. Teresa's in lane 5.
And the time to beat, 17:20. That was just put up by Ellenberg in heat 2. They are in the blocks. The third of 3 heats of the girls' 100-meter high hurdles.
Set.
Now quickly in lane 3, that is Anderson. Now in lane 4, Davis pulling away. Davis continues to pull away in lane 7, needing 17:20. That is the time to beat, and she'll do it easily, unofficially, of 15:8. So Anderson powers past the rest of the field for the apparent win from Lee Summit. Let's take a look, Chet. Boy, just great form. Great form, very straightforward, straight back over the hurdles, hitting everyone just right. Didn't touch one the whole way, and powers her way to an easy win here in the girls' 100-meter hurdles, a time of 15:43.
And a very quick time there to open up the year. Obviously, top time in the state is Tyra Wilson of Brock Bridge at 14:31. That's a very elite time there. But any time that you're below 16 or below, the 15:5 range, outstanding time, especially the first meet of the season. So a big win there for Amaya Davis of Winnetonka.
Sounds good. The boys are coming up next. They're going to move the hurdles, put them in the proper spot and at the proper height. And when we come back, the first of 2 heats of the boys' 110-meter high hurdles. When we come back, you're watching coverage of the Grandview Bulldog Invitational Track Meet on Spectrum. Back at the Grandview Invitational, it's time now for the boys' 110-meter hurdles. The first of 2 heats in lanes 3, 4, 5. Chet?
Yeah, Tyler Matthews of Belton, and then we have Xavier Madden of Belton in lane 4, and then lane 5, Leslie Davenport. So just 2 heats here, 3 runners in the first, 7 in the second heat.
And of course, DeMonte Blanks is the one we are looking at in that second heat. And they are away here in heat 1. And the two Belton runners neck and neck right now. That is Matthews and Madden. Now Matthews starting to pull away a little bit. Madden trying to close the gap, and it is just about a dead heat.
Oh my God.
And that is Davenport finishing.
I'm in the sky, bro.
It's going to be hard to know just how that was, but take a look at this, Chet. This is just about neck and neck.
And these guys racing against each other each and every day in practice, see each other in the hallway, so you know it's going to be a battle, maybe a little bit of talking smack after the race as well as two competitors. But how about that close of a race in meet number 1 between two guys that practice together every single day?
I still don't know if you can call that. It looks like Madden, maybe Chet. I don't know. Wow.
Looks like the yellow shoe.
Matthews by just a chin. It is Tyler Matthews, 16:02.
And in section 2 here, James Souders in lane 1 of Lee Summit. Lane 2, Jason Williams of Lee Summit. Lane 3, Quentin Talley of Smithville. In lane 4, DeMonte Blanks of Grandview. He comes in with a 14.96, 5th at state last year in the 110-meter hurdles as a junior. Had 14.96, we mentioned earlier, 15.03 last year at state. Sectional second place, second at districts as well. He is the one to watch in lane 4, DeMonte Blanks of Grandview. Lane 5, Isaiah Metzdorf of Odessa. Lane 6, Caleb Creeman of Odessa. And in lane 7, Connor Lynch of Winnetonka. So when highlighting these lists this week and prepping for this meet, he is one of the guys that definitely stood out to me, DeMonte Blanks of Grandview.
He is going to be quite the runner throughout this season. If he stays healthy, he is definitely one that everyone is going to watch here in the state of Missouri throughout the season. Already has a big number this year. That's 14.96 run just a few days ago, last week. We bring him up for just a moment.
The top time in the state right now is 14.18, which is very quick. Grant Conway of St. James of Cuba High School Relays on the 26th. So anytime you're below 15 in the high school ranks, pretty legit.
A little bit of a delay with the clock. Now we're ready to go. And Souders in 1, Williams 2, Talley 3, Blanks in lane 4, Metzdorf in 5, Green in 6, Lynch in lane 7. Again, lane 4. They're looking for it. He is off well. Blanks powering away, already almost a full hurdle ahead of the rest of the field. DeMonte Blanks turning it on. 2 hurdles to go, hits the second to last one, but it doesn't slow him down, and he leans through, and he breaks the 15-second mark for the second time in 2 meets this young season. What a run.
And just an explosion right out of the blocks for him, and grazed over a couple of those, hitting those, but it didn't seem to slow him down. It's almost like he expected that, as you can see him here just exploding over the hurdles with the high kick over. So smooth and impressive.
By the 3rd hurdle, he is already a hurdle ahead of the rest of the field. Watch, he's going to hit the 2 of the hurdle, 2 of the last 3, but he leans through and wins easily, 14.79.
And obviously faster than his best at 14.96 last year. A 15.03, took 5th in the state in the 110 hurdle. So absolutely an outstanding time here to kick off the 2019 season.
So DeMonte Blanks, winner at 14.79. Coming up in just a few minutes, we will have the girls' 100-meter dash when we return from coverage of the Grandview Invitational track meet on Spectrum. What we were looking forward to in the boys' 110-meter hurdles certainly came to fruition. DeMonte Blanks not disappointing anybody, a 14.79. That is flat bringing it this early in the year.
Yeah, and he was injured the majority of last season, battled injuries, had a 15.03 at state and took 5th place. 14.96 entering, so outstanding as we start the 100-meter dash now. And just 4 in the first heat. Como of East, Bean of East, Humbles of Grandview Christian, and Brown of Central Academy, lanes 3, 4, 5, and 6.
As with some of these sprints, there are no times available because for a lot of these schools, this is the first meet of the season. There were to be some meets last Friday, but they got weathered out.
Heat 2, give set.
And off to a good start in lane 5. That is Arona Humbles. Hurried through to a nice win. We'll get an official time on that. This is the first of 4 heats, so plenty left here.
Girls walk back.
Sometimes with no seating times coming into these,
13:08, not bad.
pretty legit when you look at it when some of the fastest ones are in the last heat and have a lower seed time. So you're running for time here, so you're wanting to run obviously as fast as you possibly can because you're not going to relane them and run finals after this. You've got to go all out here, and now she just got to wait to see if her time withholds to get her a place.
And it's not like in distance running because you are not having to decide from the second heat to the first heat. If the first heat in a distance race is not tactical, meaning they go all out to do what they can, and the second race is tactical, you can get surprised in that second race by someone in what would be considered the slower heat. That is not the case here in the sprints. You're just going all out no matter what.
Section 2, lane 1, Yara Foster of Belton. Lane 2, Sarai Huntley of Grandview Christian. Lane 3, Victoria Jones of Raytown. Tamaya Ray of Lee Summit. Lane 5, Carly Reynolds of Harrisonville. Lane 6, Khalees Smith, Central. Lane 7, Terriana Jenkins of Central. And in lane 8, Kishana Jones of Belton.
And Ray is who you want to watch in lane 4, a 13:94 so far. In the black. That is Ray, but she is being challenged. And now on the outside in lane 7, that is Jenkins. We'll check that in lane 6, that is Smith. And Smith pulling away. We get an official time on that, but she looks strong pulling through. Let's take a look here at this replay. Out.
And really not a solid start for her, but a very solid finish, an explosion towards the end.
Get it there, and it is in lane 7 is actually will be Jenkins. Smith not far behind in lane 6. So they bring up the official time here as we get ready for the next heat. Let's just go through the... So Jenkins, heat 2 winner. And in the third of 4 heats, it is Slaughter in lane 1, Gibbs in lane 2, Baker in lane 3, Smith in lane 4, Robinson in lane 5, Ball in lane 6, Stinson in lane 7, and Vaughn in lane 8. 13:30, Nicole Smith from Odessa.
And I'd look towards the middle of the track here in lanes 4 and 5. You mentioned Smith of Odessa along with Zaire Robinson of Winnetonka with a 13:38. So as the heats come along, getting a little bit quicker here, even though a pretty quick time in heat 1.
Odessa, that is Smith again in the black, trimmed in the red or pink.
Set.
Robinson in lane 6, and they'll bring him up. Robinson in the yellow uniform, trimmed in maroon. Also Zoe Ball, who's gone 13:72 for a seat time, standing right next to her in the green. Those are the 3 you have to think are going to figure in this. But again, it is very, very early in the year. So we are, I don't want to say guessing, but it is hard to pin some things down, especially in the sprints when it's this early in the season. But so far we have seen some great, great efforts. Here we go. Slaughter, Gibbs, Parker, Smith, Robinson, Ball, Stinson, and Vaughn as they are reloaded into the blocks, ready to go. Again, it is Smith in lane 4, Robinson in lane 5, and Ball in lane 6. A little slow out of the blocks, but it is Robinson, and now out in lane 2, running away from it, that is Gibbs. Gibbs powering past the rest of the field, and she hits the finish line in first place, and that is a sub 15, maybe even a sub 14. We'll get the official time. Did not get as good a look at the clock. on that one, so they will roll through that. And while we wait for the official time, we'll take a look at this race again. Everyone kind of sat back in the blocks on that one. They were a little tardy getting out, and that was Gibbs that was able to get out quickly and just power away from the rest of the field.
And a nice start by Tariah Baker, but Gibbs obviously outpowering the field as she came in about the 5th best seed time within that heat, but ended up taking it.
I don't know, I just remember meeting.
And the official time, 13:38. So not too bad, but here we go with what is coming up next, and that is the 4th of 4 heats. Amara Love from Lee Summit in lane 1. Faith Drennan in lane 2. Lee North of St. Teresa's in lane 3. It is Lana Dorsey of Grandview in lane 4, coming in with a seed time of 12.5 seconds. Mackenzie Pearson of Center. Then in lane 6, Kayla Smocks of St. Teresa's. Ashley Johnson of Wetatonka in lane 7. And Lauren Guidry of Lincoln Prep in lane 8. And of the 8 in this final heat, 5 of them have a seed time under 13 seconds. You got to think this is really going to be a fast heat.
Yeah, and any of them could go under that 13.22, the bottom seed within this in lane 8. So 1 through 8, you can't just select a winner here. It is anybody's race, although attention is going to be on the middle of the track with lanes 3, 4, and 5, with Dorsey with a 12.5 of Grandview coming in with the top seed time.
That is Pearson, 12.56 to 12.50. Those are lanes 4 and 5. And it's a great start right down the middle in lane 5. That is Pearson now being challenged in lane 4. Here comes Dorsey. And Dorsey, I believe, got that one right at the last. So Lana Dorsey didn't get out of the blocks particularly well, but wow, the last 50 meters, Chet, she really made up some ground.
Yeah, and you saw Dorsey really get out there, exploded out in an outstanding race between those two. We expected a quick one with so many under 13, but way to start out the 2019 season there with a pretty quick time and a neck-and-neck finish.
You see Dorsey just leaning out Pearson by half a step, a time of 12.62. Not the fastest, but certainly more than enough. And a nice win for Lana Dorsey. Again, a time of 12.62. Coming up next, it's the boys' 100-meter dash. In lane 1, it is Chavez Baker of Belton. Lane 2, Quentin McCullough of St. Michael's. Curtis Reed of Belton in lane 3. Lane 4, Sergey Charles of Grandview Christian. Torian Robertson of Central Academy in lane 5. Okoro Omendachi of Center in lane 6. Brock Odom of Odessa in lane 7. And Andrew Zambada of Grandview Christian is in lane 8. And also Quinn McCullough. Now Quinn is from St. Michael's. He is a special needs student for St. Michael's, and he is getting to run his own heat on his own, and that is very, very cool. So Quinn McCullough hitting the finish line in about 18 seconds. Not too bad. And really great to see. So Quinn finishing his race. Gets a fist bump from his coach. Always great to see Quinn McCullough get a chance to run as he hits the finish line.
And I think we're going to see some pretty quick times here. I don't know, there's no times on heat 1, but certainly as we get into heats 2 and heats 3, you start to get under that 12, and we have one runner, and Johnny Brackens, who I believe is just running one race today from Lee Summit, as a seed time of 10.9, and that will be in section 3. But we got Baker in lane 1, McCullough at lane 2, Reed lane 3, Charles in lane 4, Robertson lane 5, in lane 6, I don't remember how you said his name, but Okoro Onjikaki. What? Okay. Brock Oldham in lane 7, and Andrew Sambata of Grandview Christian in lane 8.
Of course, lane 2 is empty because that was McCullough running just a moment ago. Right now, the race is being occupied and won in lane 4, lane 5, and lane 1. And it's going to be close. It looked like that Baker may have just got past Roberson. I'll have to wait and see, but I think it might have been Torian Roberson who comes away with the win in Heat 1 of the boys 100 meters.
And we have a top time in the state this year of 10:85 of Angelo Butts at 10:85 so far. So a 10:9 seed time in this Heat 3 coming up after this Heat 2. Could be pretty quick. In section 2 here, lane 1, Anthony Wilson of Lee Summit. Lane 2, Luke Cush of Smithville. Lane 3, Mario Woods of Lincoln Prep. In lane 4, Malik Warwick of East. Lane 5, Jace Reynolds of Harrisonville. Lane 6, Michael Jones of St. Michael. Lane 7, Sean Strickland of Center. And lane 8, Anise Ricks of Central Academy. Top time within this, 11.8 by Malik Warwick. Also in lane 5, Jace Reynolds of Harrisonville at 11:88.
Keep moving around the side, Brock. Keep moving around. Keep moving around.
We are in the blocks, getting ready to go here. The second of 3 heats following this. It's a unique event, but it is run here in Missouri, and I've always liked the 4x2 100-meter relay. A lot of states don't do that anymore. They do here, and I think it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Get your sprinters.
It kind of took me back to the 90s of Kansas. I saw that and asked you off air, and I was like, they still run that? It's pretty cool to see.
Here we go. Wilson, Cush, Woods, Warwick, Reynolds, Jones, Strickland, and Ricks in lane 2, or in heat 2 of 3 here of the boys 100-meter dash.
Set.
They are in the blocks. Up. Getting off to a pretty good start. Right in the middle in lane 5. That is Reynolds. Reynolds still out in front, trying to hold off the rest of the field. Here they come, and it looks like Reynolds able to lean it out at the end. So Jace Reynolds of Harrisonville appears to be the unofficial winner of Heat 2.
And something in sprints that you do see a lot. You do see some quick times to begin the year because you can improve some, but being that it's a 100-meter race and the difference of being in shape to this is a 400 and 800 a little bit different. If you're fast, you're fast. You can shave off some time, certainly. And some of these guys look like they live in a weight room out here that are on the track within this. But you will see some quick times to begin the year, and I think we're really going to see a quick time in this next race in Section 3. Lane 1, Noah Riker out of Smithville. Lane 2, Blake Heitman of Odessa. Lane 3, Devion Franklin out of Grandview. Lane 4, Johnny Brackens. He is the one to watch at 10.9. We mentioned the top time in the state at this point is 10:85 by Angelo Butts, McClure North. And also within this race, Jace Reynolds of Harrisonville. No, said that wrong. Harold Trainer of Grandview. McClanny Warwick of East. Jaden Wilson of Harrisonville. And Enrico Gilliam of Lincoln Prep.
To watch from Lee Summit, Johnny Brackens. See him in the black with the white letters trimmed in gold, standing at his blocks, ready to go. He has got some good size. He is one of those sprinters that has a little bit of height to him, and when you get that kind of height and combine that with leg turnover, that can make you really dangerous.
And he's also a jumper. He's a school record holder for them in the triple jump, but a great sprinter as well.
And he is out quickly. Atkins by his shoulder. Atkins by 5. Still out there in front. And he leans through and wins it. Johnny Brackens of Lee Summit appears to have won that heat and maybe the overall title in the boys 100-meter dash.
And looked like about the tallest guy out there running today as well. A nice extended stride there. Not necessarily a great start, but you see his form able to stay in there and power through the explosion. I mean, this is a guy that obviously came here just to get 100-meter time, an outstanding jumper in the triple jump. His father also helps coach the Grandview boys basketball team right here, so pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, they are the two-time state champions, Grandview is. Johnny Brackens, 10.94. Not bad for this time of the year. He is the winner of Heat 3, and he wins the boys' 100-meter dash. St. Teresa's already has won one relay on the girls' side. They won the 4x800, the first event of the day, and did that in convincing fashion, running a 10-minute 4x800. And for those who are not familiar, this early in the season, that is pretty quick. And they can only go down from there. They have got something great going right there.
And we always talk at the state meet every year in Kansas of how valuable a 400-meter runner is to your team. Well, in Missouri, it's got to even be more valuable with all these relays here, because if you can run a 400 in a pretty good time, there's probably a pretty good idea that you're on that 4x2, you're on that 4x4, and you may be on that 4x8, and you may be really tired after the race as well.
And it's just like a 4x8 where you bring kids up from the 400 to meet at the 800-meter level, and you bring kids down from the 1600 to meet in the 800. Here, you're bringing kids up from the 100, and you could be bringing kids down from the 200. So it's kind of a similar thing. It's that kind of relay where you can, late in the season, you can start making decisions of where you want to plug these kids in. If you want to move them down into a race and move them into something faster than the 400, or move them up from the 100 into a race where you need just a little bit more endurance, because that last 75, 80 meters of a 200-meter run pretty much tells all, because by then you're really starting to go into lockdown. So, yeah, it is that kind of race. So here we go. We had a little bit of a run out here. They're going to run them out. I think we had a little bit of trouble with the block, so we're going to be delayed here for just a moment. We're just about ready to go. Again, Odessa, Smithville in 3, Smithville 4, East in 5. And Central is in 6. See that stagger for this race. You see how far they are out around the turn. Central Academy, they are a good 60 yards around the corner from the start-finish line in the stagger for this race. Whitaker will run for Central. Juliana Janot of Smithville. We do have those two names. We'll try to get more for you here. The gun is up. And we are underway. The first of two heats in the girls 4x200.
The main thing here with the first meet of the year, you're kind of in unfamiliar territory where you may have never been on a relay with some of these people, and you've worked and practiced, but live is different. And the main thing is getting your handoffs, getting a time, and making sure that you do finish the race.
And it is Smithville making up the stagger and getting the handoff away first. So Smithville out in front. It is Central in second. The stagger much, much smaller when you get around here for the second time. It is Smithville and Central. Or check that is East and Central. That is Kansas City East and Central. And now they're nearly neck to neck. And now Central Academy pulling out in front. So Central Academy. Here comes Odessa. And Smithville trying to make up some ground. Getting the stagger much, much smaller here in this last leg. In fact, it is almost dead even. And this is Central looking very strong. Central Academy out in front. Sharday Ellenberg rounding the corner in lane 6. Not a bad time right now, 1:43 as she powers by us. Central Academy winning the first of 2 heats in the 4x2 in a time of about 1:51, maybe a little bit less than that. But Chet, that's not a bad time.
No, especially as we mentioned, the first time out on the year, and some of these girls, you know, probably not the same relay team from 1 year ago. So anytime you're not dropping the baton and you're getting a solid time in finishing, pretty nice race there.
Boy, nice form, good arm swing. You see it there, nice and straight, no wasted motion at that. Starts to tighten up just a little bit before the finish, but other than that, a clean race.
As we go into section 2 here of the time finals, we have Harrisonville in lane 1. Lane 2 is Lee Summit. Lane 3, Grandview. Lane 4, St. Teresa's. Lane 5, Raytown. In lane 6, Center. Lane 7, Lincoln Prep. And in lane 8, Winnetonka. Top time here, Rod, as we mentioned, 1:45. So that's getting to be pretty quick here. As we mentioned, the top time in the state of Missouri, according to Mile Split, is 1:42.06.
So Harrisonville coming in at 1:54, and then St. Teresa's 1:45. You got to watch just about all of these. St. Teresa's, Kayla Smocks will lead things off. And so we'll be watching them closely. Tori Henry, Leah North, and Lauren North will make up that 4x200 as they get blocks set. That was an interesting race. I like that race.
I had to double take and look around because I hadn't seen it in a while.
The stagger is tremendous for the first 2 legs, and then you can kind of start seeing what's going on. But this should really be a great race. Folks, watch this, because this is going to be something as close as this is. And again, it's still a little bit hard to tell because when you're running the 200, it does get a little unpredictable. But yeah, this could prove to be something really exciting. So again, Harrisonville in 1, Lee Summit in 2, Grandview in 3, St. Teresa's again 1:45 flat the seat time. Raytown, they are in lane 4. Raytown in lane 5. It is Center in lane 6, not to be confused with Central. This is Center. Lincoln Prep in lane 7. Winnetonka is in lane 8. And when you talk about the stagger, we talked about the stagger. Of course, they were only using the 6th lane. Now they're using the 8th lane. Look at the camera, and you pan out all the way around the first turn, and you're almost to the blend line on the far side of the track. That is where Winnetonka is lining up.
And how much more difficult do you think that is for each different member of the
Well, you're finishing in a corner instead of finishing in a straightaway. You're having to drive through the corner last. You got to wonder if that doesn't make a little bit of a difference. You're starting to get a little bit tired, and now you're starting to having to drive through the corner. You do get the benefit of being in the outside lane, so you have a lot wider radius to go through. But you got to wonder if that doesn't make a little bit of a difference. And it's Winnetonka by Ed. Dans will kick things off. Winnetonka, you see her standing out there way out around the corner. And yeah, we're going to have some, we're going to have a little bit of a delay here. We have a broken starting block, so we're going to have to get that adjusted for just a little bit. I believe that is Lincoln Prep having a little bit of trouble, so now you have to remeasure. You want the block to sit just exactly like you want. And she needs to take her time right here, Che. You don't want to hurry. I know that makes you nervous when you're sitting out there by yourself trying to fix blocks or something like that when something like that goes wrong. You really just got to try to stay calm here and get your blocks set exactly the way you want them. Nobody's in any kind of hurry. The weather's not cold, so that's not a problem. And we talked about the wind, and that has pretty much ceased to become a factor here. Temperatures falling back probably into the low 60s, upper 50s by the time we're done, but no wind blowing right now. It has turned out to be easily the best day of this young season so far here in the Kansas City metro area.
And you just never know from year to year what the weather's going to be like. We've seen snow in May before. We've always seen that, obviously, in April. But definitely a beautiful day here in Grandview, and we're seeing some of that in these conditions.
Well, it snowed on Saturday here in the Kansas City area, so anything above 50 is welcome as we are underway here in the second and final heat of the girls 4x200. In lane 4, that is St. Teresa's looking to make up the stagger. St. Teresa's on the move, trying to make up the stagger here and get the handoff away first. And they do. It's a little bit of a sloppy handoff, but more than enough. Winnetonka having trouble getting the exchange away, but everybody is away cleanly. Do not see any flags going up. And here we go. Winnetonka pushing now. They are out in the outside lane in lane 8. But St. Teresa's making up the stagger in a big way. They are on the way. That is the third exchange and a little bit tardy. Oh, and they just do get it away. That was close, but St. Teresa's still out in front.
And that's something, obviously, you're going to work on throughout the year. Sloppy handoffs you've seen kind of on both of those and kind of almost look like they, at least from my angle where I'm looking at, like they almost ran into each other. But nonetheless, out in front here and off to a solid start.
This is the hard leg to run. What little win there as you are going into it. The St. Teresa's still out in front. That is Grandview trying to make up some ground on the inside. Here we come. It's St. Teresa's in lane 4. In lane 5, that is Raytown. And now Raytown starting to make a move. Raytown starting to make a move. They are now out in front. It's a push to the finish line, and Raytown High School wins that leg of the 4x200. That's Shelby Butts who powered Raytown out in front. And to what appears to be a win here in the girls 4x200. Let's watch the anchor leg once again.
And just came right around that corner and an explosion of speed there and able to take the lead. So an outstanding leg there on the final 200 by Shelby Butts of Raytown to get the win. They came in here in the second seed at 147.25 and edged St. Teresa's Academy for the solid win.
Boy, she really got by her. It ends up being about 5 feet. We'll get an unofficial time for you, but that was an outstanding time. 1 minute, 46 and 94. So Raytown, the winner of Heat 2 and the winner overall of the girls 4x200 meter relay. And coming up next, it's time for the boys. We're going to take a timeout here. We'll be back with the boys 4x200 meter relay. When we come back, it's coverage of the Grandview Bulldog Invitational track meet here on Spectrum. The Hy-Vee Game of the Week is brought to you by Hy-Vee, the official sponsor of High School Spirit. And that includes our coverage of the Grandview Invitational. We're so glad you're with us. With Chet Copeland, I'm Rod Zook on a great afternoon for track. We've already seen some great times this early in the season. And we're going to see a few more here. Central Academy, Belton, and Grandview Christian making up the first heat of this boys 4x200. No seed times on this, but we are looking ahead to the next team. And you look at Center and Grandview, they have already eclipsed the 134 barrier in this 4x200. So this second race should be fun as well. And we are underway. That is Belton making up the stagger in a hurry.
10 teams competing in this today, just 3 in this heat, but in section 2, 7 different teams. It's some pretty quick times. Central obviously started in lane 3, Belton in 4, and Grandview Christian in lane 5.
That is Belton. That is Curtis Reed handing off to Chavez Baker. Still out in front. Here comes Baker. And Central Academy trying to catch up. Now in second. There's Ricky Greer. Ricky Greer making up a lot of ground. In fact, Greer has made up all of that ground, and now it is Central out in front. That is Ricks. And for Belton, it is Holt giving chase. So Ricks has Central out in front. He'll hand off to Eric Bouts. And he is away, and right now it looks like Central's 4x200 is going to win this first heat as they round the curve at 1 minute and 24 seconds. Central Academy in lane 3. Powering to a win here in a nice time of 1:37.
And not bad for no seat time here, because 1:42, you know, that's the perks of, I guess, putting a seat time down. You get into the faster section, and they had a 5-second faster than that of Winnetonka, depending on how accurate you're going to get. It's early, and some of these might be kind of estimated from what you did in practice or maybe what you did 1 year ago, but pretty good time there.
Yeah, not bad. Central Academy, Belton, and Grandview Christian in that order. 1:37.67 is the winning time. That is the time to beat for those in Heat 2. Winnetonka will make up lane 1. It is Odessa in lane 2, St. Michael in lane 3, Center in lane 4, Grandview in lane 5, Lincoln Prep in lane 6, Lee's Summit in lane 7, and again, lanes 4 and 5, Center and Grandview, the ones to watch in this. Rashad Buckles will lead that off for Grandview. And for Center, Brian Kubil will set things off here for Center as they are getting the blocks ready to go. It does take a little bit of time. But we have that. Let's go over the boys 100-meter finals. In 5th place, Jaden Wilson of Harrisonville, a time of 11.6. 5th place, or 4th place, Malachi Warwick of Kansas City East, 11.58. Davion Franklin of Grandview runs 3rd in 11.15. Harold Trainer of Grandview, 11.13. And then Johnny Brackens of Lee's Summit High School, the winner, a time of 10.94 seconds. Your winner of the boys 100-meter dash.
Raise your hand if you can hear me.
And anytime you're below that 11 mark, especially this time of year, I know, you know, it doesn't change a whole lot. It can improve. But that's a very quick time, and he was coming here, obviously, to get that time today and kind of get it on the clock, because he's a guy that's an outstanding jumper, the school record holder in a few of the jumps.
Well, and they were not originally going to bring their whole team or their varsity team, and then at the last minute, just because they have a meet coming up here a little bit later on, then at the last minute decide, okay, we're going to bring kids, we're going to let them run one event, and I think that's a good idea. It lets you kind of get into that routine. You learn how to prepare for meets. You have to learn that all over again with a new season, how to warm up, how to stretch, the things you do to get yourself ready physically and mentally for a race. And so it gives them a chance to just get their feet wet and relearn that again before they go to things that are later on down the road.
And in Kansas City, it'd be so hard to pick between so many meets, whether it's Kansas, Missouri, with your league schools, with people that you have ties to or maybe that you've worked with in the past. You know, in Western Kansas, there may be one meet. You drive 2-3 hours to go to that meet. There's all kind of meets all over the place here that within an hour or 2 hours that can easily be accessed. So you can get to really anywhere and get a time in if you do need one.
And it is nice not to have to drive quite so far. So here we go. Winnetonka, Odessa, St. Michael, Center, Grandview, Lincoln Prep, Lee's Summit. And they are away in this final heat of the boys 4x200-meter relay. And making up ground quickly, that is Lincoln Prep. Out in front, making up the stagger. Right beside them, that is Grandview, also trying to make up some of that stagger. Lincoln Prep and Grandview, oh, in a little bit of trouble. Oh, Grandview, do they get it away? They did, but they had to almost come to a stop to get the first handoff away. And that lets Lincoln Prep get out in front. Here comes Lee Summit and Grandview and Central. They are second, third, and fourth as they come to the next exchange. Oh, and now it is Lincoln Prep with trouble.
And just left a little bit too soon and not able to get there. He had to come to a complete stop to even get the handoff. Otherwise, they're still in front.
And now that's Grandview and Lincoln Prep and Central battling 1, 2, and 3 as we get ready for the third and final exchange. 200 meters to go as they struggle into what little breeze there is. It looks like Lincoln may have got away first. Here comes Grandview. And on the inside, that's Odessa. Odessa in lane 2 trying to give chase. Here comes Grandview. Here comes Odessa. It's going to be a close one as they struggle to reach for the finish line. And it is Odessa. Looks like just got him at the end. We'll see. It was very, very close.
Turn back to your lane. Stay in your lanes and return to the finish line.
Wow, what a race.
That's an exciting race because to me, I mean, it's obviously like a mix of the 4x1 and the 4x4, and getting to see that's kind of cool.
Well, let's watch these exchanges here. This is the first one for Grandview. You see he's reaching back. He has to stop and take it away. And really, Lincoln Preps wasn't a whole lot better than as well. Not the best handoffs in there, but here comes the anchor, and Odessa in lane 2 really comes on at the end. We'll see. It was really, really close. Wait for the official time here. Just both leaning at the line. Get a better look here with our finish line camera. And it is Odessa coming away with the win. Grandview will have to settle for second place. And a close one for third. It looks like that Central.
It's amazing what that camera angle can do, because where I was looking at it looked like a dead on time.
So Odessa, the winner of the 4x200, a time of 1 minute 35.94 seconds, and that is enough to win the overall title as well.
And now as we go into the girls' 1,600 meter run, we have one section of the girls and one section of the boys. 15 runners on the girls' side. Lily Cutler out of Smithville, Story Downing, Lincoln Prep, Grace Wheeler, St. Michael, Meredith O'Donnell out of St. Teresa's, Jaden Yoder out of Smithville, Emma Oding out of Lee Summit, Selena Urisco out of Lee Summit, Eva Petrini out of St. Michael, Alexandra Macias out of Grandview, Cassandra Gonzalez out of Raytown, Gabby Staker out of St. Teresa's, Madeline Murray out of Odessa, Melanie Valencia out of Raytown, Caitlin Saunders out of Belton, and Emily Morgan out of Belton. Top time here, entering a seed time from Smithville, 5:25, Lily Cutler.
Cutler's the one you got to watch in this race. This will be a waterfall start. Again, if you're not familiar with track, waterfall start means the starting line is on a curve, and you can cut in immediately. Now, they are going to do this a double waterfall start, which means there's a second starting line 15 meters up from the first one, and they cannot cut in to the first lane until they get to the stagger. They can only go into the fourth lane. So it kind of divides the track into two sections here, and it just keeps things from getting congested. That's why you see a group of runners on the outside lanes so much further out in front than the runners that are on the inside.
Now, as a runner, what would you prefer with this? Is there an advantage or disadvantage?
Well, it just depends on the number of runners. I think it's nice to be on the outside, but you're usually the slower runners are on the outside lane, so it can make for some pretty interesting times, especially if you're one of those runners that likes to cut in right away instead of just using the whole back straightaway to make up the stagger and just kind of get yourself blended in. You can kind of get yourself pinned in and get in trouble if you're not careful, so it is something you've got to watch.
And any time to really kick off the year for girls under 5:30, pretty legit time. We obviously see the high fours, the low fives across the landscape of high school track and field. And we don't expect to see anything like this, but a seed time of 5:25 by Lily Cutler. Pretty good. If you could start out the year in those 5:20s, that means you are on the right track.
And that is Cutler with the one on her bib. Following right on her shoulder, that is O'Donnell, Meredith O'Donnell.
3 left. 3 left. 3.
As they hit line, not a real fast time, about 1:25. But now Cutler starting to pull away a little bit. She's out to about a 10-yard lead. Really starting to power down the backstretch, putting some distance between her and O'Donnell in second place.
And she's a 2-time individual All-State athlete, Missouri Class 3 in the cross-country championships. Also an All-Stater in the 1,600 meter and 3,200. She took 6th last year as a freshman with 5:17.81. Also in the 3,200 meter as a freshman, 11:46.78. Her teammate also in this, Jaden Yoder, is also an All-State athlete in the cross-country championship, 17th place, part of the Class 3 girls 3rd place state team. So a couple of pretty good runners here out of Smithville in the 1,600. You'll see that as well on the boys' side.
Lily Cutler almost looks like she's smiling. She is running. Nice form, good arm swing, and nice weather to run in. It's like we said, it's in the high 50s right now, and you may think, well, that's a little cold to be wearing a tank top, but when you're a distance runner, this feels great. This is really some nice weather. You see Yoder has moved into 3rd place
82,
as she passes Lincoln Prep's Story Downey. It looks like Yoder's trying to get to 2nd place, but it is Lily Cutler pulling away now as she starts her 3rd lap. A little bit of a breeze to run into. It was still for a little while, but it is starting to cool off as the sun starts to drop and the wind is starting to pick up a little bit. So the runners are facing a headwind going down the back stretch. And you see Yoder now really working hard to reel in O'Donnell. She's going to get her by the end of this back straightaway. But Cutler out in front by about 75 meters.
It looks like Yoder is moving up on 2nd, and obviously she runs the 4x8 as well. Went to state a year ago and has some distance to her as well, as she was on that cross-country team, as we mentioned. Also planning to join the military after graduating high school this year. So she's a senior, as Cutler, a sophomore, in the lead. So 1-2 Smithville.
And if you're wondering, yes, they are keeping team scores. That is 18 very big points. And when you can get 18 points in a distance race, that is a lot, because distance points are hard to come by, being you can only run 2 or 3 events at a time. So Cutler out in front. Not a particularly fast time, but no reason to really put up a big number today. Whereas sprinters can put up big numbers early and often, that is not the case when you're a distance runner. There is a bigger picture later down the road for what you want to accomplish. But still, it is not too bad. Just a little over 200 meters to go. Lily Cutler lapping a slower runner.
And how valuable do you think that is, Rod? I know we've seen it in the smaller classes at the Kansas State meet when you have a Hadley Splecter of Yates Center or a Kyler True, where they make others around them better. When you have people to compete with, I know these are larger high schools here, but every day of competition, when you have somebody to go out and run some distance with, that'll certainly help you along the year rather than just in competition, because you see it every day in practice.
Absolutely. Here comes Cutler. 5:16 already. It's not going to be a bad time for this time of the year. Looking at about a 5:35. Maybe a little less than that.
We got a lap over there. We got a lap.
Just a few steps to go. 5:33 for Lily Cutler.
She's got another lap, Mike.
And here comes Yoder and O'Donnell. Yoder will hold her off. 5:45 and 5:47, respectively, for Yoder and O'Donnell. And here comes Story Downey, who's going to have a pretty nice time as well. She could eclipse the 6-minute mark and just does at 5:58.
Everybody's finishing.
Also coming to finish, this is Petrini. Eva Petrini, St. Michael's. pushing to the finish line and will cross the line in 5th. So the girls' 1,600-meter run is over, and your winner, Smithville's Lily Cutler, who powers her way to a nice win. You see the two teammates, arm in arm. Yoder finishing in 2nd place. That is O'Donnell standing next to them. You saw just a moment ago who finished in 3rd. And you know why Smithville has to feel so good about cross country and their track program right now, especially on the distance side of things. That certainly is a reason. A 1-2 finish in the girls' 1,600-meter run. Let's run down the lineup for the boys. 15 runners. Luke Thermashusen of Smithville, and then Imadin Ahmed in lane 2 from East. Reagan Dunn of Smithville in lane 3. Zana Johnson of St. Michael's in lane 4. Rayvon Epperson of Grandview in lane 5 and lane 6. Xavier Coburn wearing bib hip number 7, Dalton Brown. Muhammad Arbab of East is lane 8. Payson Brooks in lane 9. Matt Swearigan in lane 10. Jackson Meshig in lane 11. Noah Johnson in lane 12. Raymond Kinney in lane 13. Davis Twitter in lane 14. Brandon Chandler in lane 15. And again, this will be a double waterfall start. And again, you will have runners starting at the starting line on the curved line, and they will be able to break to lane 1, and then up in lanes 4, 5, 6, or 5, 6, 7, and 8, you will have another starting line further up the track. Those runners will be able to break into lane 4, and they will run that lane all the way around to the end of the first turn, and then we'll make up the stagger from there. It's a staggered waterfall start, a way of getting the kids out when you have a larger field without making them run in lanes all the way around or crowding them at the starting line. It just makes for a cleaner race.
Round of Odessa, Mohammed Arbab of Kansas City East, Payson Burks of Odessa, Matt Swearigan of Lee.
So you look at the seed time.
Noah Johnson of
Shusen of Smithville, 4:38.
Davis Twinter of St. Michael's.
And Ahmed of East at 4:45. Only 3 seed times under 5 minutes in this race, but you got to figure probably going to see a little bit more than that here.
Tied for 5th place.
The weather had not been very cooperative for long distance running, but that is certainly the case now. We've talked about the wind kind of coming and going. Right now the flags are hanging down, so we could see some pretty good times here in this 1,600-meter run. Coming up after this, always one of the best events of any track meet, the boys and girls 4x100-meter relay. That'll be coming your way in just a few moments. Here are the final results. We'll get underway here for the 1,600 meters. Odessa winning a time of 1:35. Grandview in 2nd place. Lincoln Prep in 3rd. Central Academy ends up in 4th place. Belton, Missouri finishes in 5th, followed by Winnetonka, Lee's Summit, and Grandview Christian. Those the winning finals of the boys 4x200. We are underway in the boys 1,600-meter run. 15 participants, 4 laps around the track. They come around for the first lap. Shusen. Luke looking good. Very relaxed. It is not a fast pace by any stretch. They are just taking it easy. Ahmed of East right there as well. Also alongside Epperson, wearing hip number 5. And it is a bit of a stroll. They come through in 71 unofficially. That is not particularly fast. See if they pick up the pace here in lap number 2 here. Susan trying to pull away a little bit. That is Ahmed hanging right there with them. Head back just a little bit, but a nice stride, nice long stride. Epperson in third. Those three starting to put a little bit of distance between the rest of the field, about 10 yards in front. Here comes Ahmed. We'll see how much Schusen is just hanging on right here to the lead, whether he is comfortable just sitting right where he is. Most important lap of this race coming up, the third lap. It sets up so many things right here. Ahmed right there, looking very relaxed, has his hands up very high, up near his shoulders with an easy arm swing. 2:25 at the half. Again, not particularly fast. Here's Schusen, Ahmed. Now beginning to pull away a little bit. Epperson is now in third place, still in third place, but now having to run a race kind of by himself. That's not an easy thing to do. You're 30 yards behind the first and second place runner and about 15 yards ahead of fourth place, and you're kind of out there in no man's land. Makes it hard to run this race, but they're coming around to take the bell lap here. Luke Thermer-Schusen still out in front. Ahmed still giving chase right there on his shoulder. Now they start to pick up the pace a little bit. They'll come to the bell lap here. A little bit faster this time. They hit the clock at about 3:37.
And Luke, a senior, is a two-time individual all-state athlete, Missouri Class 3 in the cross-country championship. He took 11th place this fall, and then 2 falls ago, 17th place in 2017. He's also a sectional qualifier in the 1,600 meters the last 2 years. And you have to qualify in the top 4. So really hard to make the state meet. He is also planning on going on to the military, like Jaden Yoder. He's headed to the Naval Academy after high school graduation.
Sounds like a good plan, and he is starting to pull away as Ahmed cannot keep ground, and Ahmed starting to fall back now. Luke Thermer-Schusen starting to lap a couple of runners. Good arm swing. Oh, and he almost tried to go on the inside. Not a good idea, but he manages to escape that. That could have been a nasty fall right there. I'm sure his coach will probably talk that over with him. Here comes Ahmed trying to give chase. Both have plenty left in the tank. It is an impressive kick, but certainly there was a lot left as they did not run this first several laps real hard, and Luke Thermer-Schusen wins it about 4:42 unofficially as Smithville sweeps the boys and girls 1,600 meter runs. Ahmed finishing in second. Epperson ends up with third place. We'll get the official times here in just a moment. Colburn from Grandview finishing. There is Dalton Brown also ending his run. As the rest of the field finishes up here. Still have a couple of runners that are going to take a little bit of time out on the backstretch. Girls 4x100 meter relay will be coming up here in just a few moments. We'll have 2 heats of that, and we'll follow that up with the boys 4x100, also 2 heats. Following that, it's the girls 400 meter dash along with the boys 400 meters, and then one of the toughest races in high school track, the 300 intermediate hurdles. That will punish you. People talk about which race is harder, the 4x8, the 800, or the 300 IH, and it really is just about a dead heat. They are both easily the 2 most difficult races to run in track and field. Yeah, watch this here. This is something you do not want to watch. He tries to go on the inside, and he really surprised the runner he was lapping, and if you take too many steps off the track, you get disqualified. So that is something I'm sure that his coach is going to talk it over. If you're going to get lapped, you're told to just hold your line, hold your lane. Don't try to move out or anything or surprise anybody. And the kid from Central did exactly what he was supposed to do, but that really was a close call. That could have been a very tough way to end what was ended up being a win.
And his official time was 4:42 on that. He came in with a 4:38. 4:42 to kick off the year here. That's a very good time, considering some of those laps didn't necessarily look too straining on his body. But yeah, you mentioned the inside there. That could have been very, very dangerous. You don't see that often. A lot of times just run past the guy on the outside.
Now the 4x100 boys coming your way in just a few moments. Let's take a timeout. We'll be back with more coverage of the Grandview Bulldog Invitational Track Meet on Spectrum. And we are underway in the 400-meter dash. This is the first of 3 heats. Again, the faster heats are the latter ones. Of course, if you did not put in a seat time, you can end up in a first heat. We have seen that already, and it has made a little bit of a difference.
We did a poll over in Kansas, at Track in Kansas and Sports in Kansas last week, and we do it every year, of what the hardest event is to run in track and field. And we talked about that earlier. It always comes down to the 400, the 300 hurdles, and the 800. To me, I think the 300 hurdles, you may disagree with that, but it's just a flat-out sprint no matter how you look at it in any of those races.
Chanel Watts of Grandview Christian in lane 5. Hitting the finish line in about 66. That is not a bad time this time of the year. So we'll get ready for for heat 2. Kaylee Barker of Odessa in lane 1. Jocelyn Randall of Grandview in lane 2. Kelsey Hankins of Smithville in lane 3. Juliana Leprcio of Winnetonka in lane 4. Maya Moore of Lee Summit in lane 5. Adrienne Maxwell of East in lane 6. Eden Viles of Winnetonka in lane 7. Elsie Lee of Grandview makes up lane 8. The fastest seat time is Leprcio, as Juliana has run 67.77. And she makes up lane 4. You see her there swing the arms, the yellow jersey trimmed in maroon with the black shorts. There's a good picture of her. And there's actually Eden Viles in lane 7. Winnetonka, she's gone 71, so not too bad this early in the season. It is so hard to predict what you're going to get with a seat time compared to what you are going to run, because all the jitters and everything, if this is your second meet of the season, all the jitters and all that stuff, the inner garbage from the start of the season is gone, and you can really put up some pretty nice numbers compared to what seed times are. So we'll see what happens. Barker, Randall, Hankins, Lupizio, Moore, Maxwell, Viles, and Lee as we are underway. And quickly coming up on the inside, making up the stagger, that is Hankins, Kelsey Hankins, trying to make up some of the stagger. Also on the inside, that's Randall.
Oh yeah, Jocelyn!
As they have 200 meters to go. And this is where it really starts to get difficult. The arm swings. You're trying to stay relaxed, but you still want to keep pushing. It is so tough here the last 150 meters, and right now, it looks like that Smithville's Kelsey Hankins is getting the best of the field right now as they have 90 meters to go. It is Hankins out in front, starting to struggle a little bit. Here comes Lee Summit's Maya Moore, but it is not going to be enough. Hankins hangs on and wins it in 66 and change. So Kelsey Hankins of Smithville wins that heat. There is still one more heat to go here.
Stay back here in your lane.
That's 8 of the fastest.
Do you think that is to train for that, Rod, in a race like that? You have to do sprint work and a little bit of distance work to get in, the 400. I mean, how, as a coach?
Do a lot of staggered running, 100, 200, 300 ladders, 50, 100, 150 ladders, things like that. Jogs for half a lap, followed by sprints for 150 meters. Just anything like that. They're trying to teach you mostly how to run tired. That's the one thing I think is the one key about the 300, the 800, and the 400. And we talked about arguing whether these are the 3 toughest races, and they arguably are for those reasons. You have to learn to run tired. You have to be very relaxed. You can't waste energy. Everything has to go forward and backward. Your arm swing. When you start seeing the arms starting to flail a little bit, going side to side, you're really tired because you cannot keep that posture that you need to have that kind of success. And that's what makes those 3 races so tough. Throw in, 11 jumps in the 300 IH, and that may seal it right there as the toughest race in track and field. Heat 3, Caroline Coley of Odessa makes up lane 1. Michaela Carson in lane 2. Kiera Broughton of Lee Summit in lane 3. Shelby Butts of Raytown in lane 4. Tori Henry in lane 5. Naomi Ormiston in lane 6. Jasmine Banks in lane 7. Brooklyn Ritchie is in lane 8. She is from Smithville. And this is going to be something. Shelby Butts is fast already. 56.9 this season. She is in lane 4.
Set.
And that would be the top time in Missouri at this point if she were to run that today. And a 4-year letter winner, captain of the team, seeing recruiting interest from Missouri State at the next level. So all-state type of athlete here you're seeing in Butts.
Well, that is Banks you're seeing trying to get out in front. Very relaxed Shelby Butts. Look how smooth she is. It looks like she's not even trying as she just powers past the rest of the field into turn 3. There you see her making her way around the last corner, and she is just smooth as silk. Shelby Butts, with just a little over 100 meters to go, has put a great distance between her and the field. Look at this lead as Shelby Butts powers her way towards the finish line. The clock at 54:55. It's going to be about 58 and change. Just a tick under 59 seconds. Not her best by any stretch, but certainly more than enough as Shelby Butts just decimates this field and wins the girls' 400-meter dash. And that, Chet, was impressive.
Very impressive, and you're going to see her more today because she's also, I believe, on the 4x4 relay. At least she was last year, and also All-State last year in the 200 meters in the 400. We saw her earlier today on that 4x2 in the great leg that she ran. So not the last we're going to see of her in 59:15 here today. Outstanding time, and just makes it look so easy.
Well, she didn't really have to expend any energy. Once she got past there, she really just was pretty much in cruise control. She's got other things to do today, so no reason to start wearing yourself out. It's a little bit chilly. The weather is nice, but it is still a little bit cool, especially if you're a sprinter. So no reason to push the issue right here. Just comes away with a nice solid win.
Now on to the boys' 400-meter dash next. Of course, we have 3 sections of this. Andrew Sambata of Grandview Christian in lane 1. Ladarius Christian of Central in lane 2. In lane 3, Chavez Baker out of Belton. Lane 4, LeBrian Muhammad out of Center. Lane 5, Ricky Greer out of Central. Lane 6, Joel Moniro out of East. Lane 7, Deron Kearney out of Central Academy. Lane 8,
On your marks.
Serge Charles out of Grandview Christian. So this is time finals, section 1 of 3.
Lane 6, go
And
all the way
again,
down.
8
Lane
runners
6, go all
in
the way
each
down.
of these heats, so it is a full field. Following this, the girls' 300-meter IH, followed by the boys.
Okay, stand up, stand up.
A lot of discussion as to whether to ever make that the full 400. But
And the people
stay with
at
the
state
300.
meets that do, you have a little bit of extra time at state rather than this. I've seen people in Kansas before that go back-to-back that win both 400 and the 300. That is insane. Either one of them are insane, but to run them back-to-back to win, you get a little bit of a break at state because you have more classifications. So you don't see that often at high school meets of somebody running this, then getting back in their lane.
It's more of a college thing, and but it is a great race. Fell in love with this race, Edwin Moses, who just won and won and won and won the 400 IH forever. Here we go, the first of 3 heats. Boys 400-meter dash. Coming up on the inside, making up some of that stagger is Simbata. He is running well. Also on the outside lanes, that is Muhammad Greer. Minervo also there as they come to the head of the straight. And coming up on the inside, that is Simbata. But out in front, in lane 5, that is Greer, Ricky Greer. Looking smooth, Simbata in lane 1, trying to give chase. But it is Greer easing through the finish line at about 55 and change. So Ricky Greer, the winner of the first of 3 heats of the boys 400-meter dash. Chet, run down lane heat 2.
Heat 2, lane 1, Nick Harlan out of Smithville. Lane 2 is Terrell Robenzine out of the Summit. Lane 3, Greg Shockley of Center. Lane 4, Giorgio Assenville out of Winnetonka. Lane 5, Noah Riker out of Smithville. Lane 6, Zachary Dyer out of Odessa. Lane 7, Timon Kimber of Lincoln Prep. And in lane 8, Daniel Lobo of Lee Summit. So you'll see some 55 range seeds here. The fastest seed within this heat is Giorgio Assenville out of Winnetonka with 55.33. 2 sub-56 guys with Noah Riker also at 55.8.
Let's run down the boys' final results of the 4x100-meter relay. In 5th place, Odessa, 45.72. 4th place, Center at 45.26. 3rd place, Lincoln Prep at 45.13. Grandview with a time of 44.88. And Lee's Summit with a time of 43.90. They are your winners. Girls 4x100, 5th place, Smithville, 52.58. Lincoln College Prep in 4th place. In 3rd place, Central Academy at 52.14 seconds. Grandview finishes in 2nd at 51.41. And St. Teresa's Academy wins it in a time of 50.83. We'll have the final results of the boys' 1,600-meter run in just a few moments. Right now, it is heat 2 of the boys' 400-meter dash. Harlan, Robenzine, Shockley, Aspel, Riker, Dyer, Kimber, Lobo. And quickly out, that is Riker in lane 5, and he is moving out quickly. Riker being chased, looks like that is Shockley, as they are at the 200-meter mark. Now 150 meters to go. That is Smithville's Noah Riker. Starting to tighten up just a little bit, but the lead is more than enough as his head draws back, trying to pump those arms and keep moving as he picks up the pace and heads towards the finish line as Riker wins in a time of about 54.9. We'll get the official results here in just a moment. But it is Noah Riker coming away with the win in heat 2 of the boys' 400-meter dash. Here comes Riker. You see his head up is just a little bit. I think he figures it out, because watch here as he gets about 50 meters from the finish line. He'll start to drop his chin a little bit, trying to just pick up the pace. And he comes away with the win. Again, 54.89 is the official time for Noah Riker.
Pretty spot on there. You 54.9.
I'm getting close today. I'm getting there. Here is section 3 of 3. Jaden Wilson of Harrisonville in lane 1. Carter Wade in lane 2. He's from Odessa. Grandview's Joshua Radley in lane 3. Jamil Phillips of Lincoln Prep in lane 4. Reginald King in lane 5. Christopher Pouncell of St. Michael's in lane 6. Quinn Zoltek in lane 7. He's from St. Michael's. And Harrisonville's Jace Reynolds is in lane 8. Well, we have a moment. The boys 1600-meter final. Xavier Coburn of Grandview in 6th place. Reagan Dunn in 5th. Xenia Johnson of St. Michael's in 4th. Rayvon Epperson of Grandview finishes in 3rd, a time of 4 minutes 56 seconds. Ahmed of East in 4 minutes 44 seconds. He finishes in 2nd. And Luke Thermosusan in 4:43 finishes in 1st. He is the winner. So here we go with Heat 3. And quickly out from Grandview, that is Reginald King.
King has a 51.5 this year coming into this, as well as Jamil Phillips out of Lincoln Prep with a 51.22. Fastest time in the state this year so far, 48.75 by Lance Ward of Carl Junction.
Boy, and it looks like everyone else just stopped, and Reginald King really kicked it into another gear. He is being challenged on the inside, though. That is Jamal Phillips. Here comes Reginald King. And on the outside in lane 7, that is Zoltek. King and Zoltek. King and Zoltek as they head for the finish line. King trying to get there. He won't do it. Quinn Zoltek of St. Michael's pulls off a little bit of an upset. His seat time was 54 coming in. Let's watch the last 100 meters of this one. Zoltek, you see him peek over into lane 4 and really try to turn it on here. Looks over and realizes that he has just come away with a win by about 2 steps. And the time, 51.77. So a nice time for Quinn Zoltek, as he is the winner of the boys 400-meter dash. The girls 300-meter intermediate hurdles is coming your way next, as coverage of the Grandview Invitational Track and Field meet continues. After this timeout, you're watching Spectrum Sports. You look down the front stretch of the hurdles lined up as we are ready to go with the 300 intermediate hurdles. Nicole Smith, Sharday Ellenberg, and Kennedy Kleppel in this first heat. First of 3. The whole idea is to hit this without stutter stepping, and it is hard to do, especially when you start getting tired. You want to hit them smooth, just like you do in the 100 high hurdles, but you have 11, 12, 13 steps in between. So we come to the home stretch. Central Academies, Sharday Ellenberg getting a little bit sideways over that last one. 2 hurdles to go. The last hurdle is just a few steps away, and now here comes Odessa's Kennedy Kleppel. Kennedy gets over the last hurdle and wins it. Kennedy Kleppel of Odessa winning the first of 3 heats of the girls' 300 intermediate hurdles. You see right there, Chet just starts having to reach a little bit for the hurdles there. That is Ellenberg. Gets a little bit sideways, stutter steps on that one, and that allowed Kleppel to catch her just before the second to last hurdle.
In And you have to have
coming away with
the
win.
endurance of a 400-meter runner along with jumping that we talked about within that. So sometimes a little bit of a quicker start, whenever you may not be in the best shape at the end of the year, can be a little bit tough in meet 1. But I think we're going to see some quick times here, especially in section 3 within this, where we go sub 50 here for some girls, including one in the 45s.
And I
as well.
said Kennedy Klebel, we need to apologize to Nicole Smith, who actually came away with the win on that. See the track, the blue ring, this is a nice track. It's really firm, but it's very, very fast. It has not been laid down too many years ago. They really do like it. They hold a good meet here. Here is section 2. That is Shantae Graham, Mackenzie Ammons, Allie Andrews, Trang Nguyen, Shayla Draper, and Kylie Allen. It is Trang Nguyen of St. Teresa's. Now coming up on the inside, looks like that is Ammons and Graham trying to make up some ground. Better idea as they get to the straightaway here. Here they come. And in lane 2, that is Belton's Shantae Graham. Short stepping the hurdle there. Just one more to go. But Shantae Graham easily powers through the finish line. A time of 53.8.
Good job, girls. Walk back into your lane.
And Chantel Graham
Finish.
from Belton, Missouri, who did not have a seed time, but certainly set a pretty good one right there, comes away with the win. And you can see, Chet, just short steps, that hurdle just a little bit. You can see it's so hard to keep yourself running straight. See the grimace on her face as she heads towards the last hurdle. And then that grimace turns to a big smile as she knows she just cracked off a pretty good one right there.
And it's almost important to kind of, at some point, maybe to keep the same pace and have your steps down, because you try to make up some on the sprinting part of it, but then sometimes, obviously, as you mentioned, kind of short stepping it to get over that hurdle. Easier said than done.
Well, again, you don't have much room to run. Once you get over that last hurdle, you're only about 7 or 8 steps away from the finish line, unlike a 400-meter in college where the last hurdle is about 40 meters from the finish line, where you actually really have to put on a sprint. This one, that last hurdle comes awfully late in the race when you're just about 10 meters from the finish line. Lisa Strong of Raytown makes up lane 1 of Heat 3. Lena Otto of Lincoln Prep in lane 2. Neely Neal of Lincoln Prep in lane 3. Mackenzie Pearson from center. We'll have to watch her. She is in lane 4. Amaya Davis of Winnetonka in lane 5. Jamera Cullen of Raytown in lane 6. Morriselina Martin of Lee Summit in lane 7. And Gabriela Mesa of St. Teresa's is in lane 8. Mackenzie Pearson of center of 45.24. She is the real deal. And she makes up lane 4 of this final. 8 runners in this second heat of the girls 300 intermediate hurdles. They are off and running. And Mackenzie Pearson immediately making up the stagger on the entire field. She is 5 meters to the first hurdle. Little trouble with the second one, but still more than enough. She has made up the stagger and is starting to leave the rest of this field behind. Very clean over the next one. 4 hurdles to go. Now at the head of the straightaway, Mackenzie Pearson now getting a little bit of a challenge. Here comes Winnetonka's Demaya Davis. Davis trying to give chase. This is Pearson and Davis. Pearson looks over her shoulder a little bit, knows she has a bit of a cushion, and cruises to the win. Amaya Davis of Winnetonka gave chase, but could not mount a challenge and finishes in second place.
Pearson entered with a 45.24 this year. Top time in the state, 44.14 by Tyra Wilson of Rockbridge. You can see her just extending over the hurdles. Kind of short-stepped it a little bit, but comes through with a big win here and a nice first race of the year.
Now we'll adjust the hurdles, raise them up a little bit, and when we come back, it's boys action in the 300 intermediate hurdles as we bring you more from the Grandview Bulldog Invitational track meet. After this timeout, you're watching Spectrum Sports. Are set. We are ready for the first of three heats of the, or two heats rather, of the boys 300 intermediates. Caleb Cremine of Odessa, Xavier Madden of Belton in lane 4, Cade Keel of Odessa is in lane 5, and actually we have a scratch, so it is actually just Cremine and Keel, the teammates, left to duke it out in this first heat of the 300 intermediate hurdles. A full field coming up in the second heat. This is Keel, Cade Keel, looking smooth. Actually, it is Xavier Madden of Belton, who is in the third lane. He is the other runner, and he finishes in second place, but it is Cade Keel. It is Caleb Creeman who did not get in this race. So Cade Keel tries to catch his breath after running that race, and here we go with the second heat. Leslie Davenport of Grandview in lane 1, Jason Williams in lane 2, Garrett Thompson in lane 3, DeMonte Blanks in lane 4, Mylan McDaniel in lane 5, Justin Rogers in lane 6, Connor Lynch in lane 7, and Shadi Madaya in lane 8 from Lee Summit. And of course, we've already talked about DeMonte Blanks winning the 110 high hurdles. He's got a pretty big number in this event as well.
Yeah, 39.62 comes into the year, a sub 40. That is legit. That is flat out flying in this race. Top time in the state is Grant Conway out of St. James High School at 38.88 at the Cuba High School relays. So sub 40 here. Maybe we'll see it today. He is in lane 4 out of Grandview, and an outstanding athlete that we already saw in the 110s earlier today with a very, very quick time. So this is the guy to watch for this year within the Kansas City Metro in the hurdles.
They are in the blocks coming up after this. We've argued over the 3 hardest races in track. The other one comes up. Boys and girls 800-meter runs coming your way in just a few minutes. And we will have condensed heats of at least some of that. So we'll run down the field for you as they get lined up. So here we go. Davenport, Williams, Thompson, Blanks, McDaniel, Rogers, Lynch, Madaya. In that order, lanes 1 through 8. In the final heat of the boys 300-meter intermediate hurdles. It is cooling off here in Grandview. We're down into the 50s. No wind. It has been a nice day, and that is a nice change from some of the things we have had. We certainly feel for all the people around the Missouri area that are hurting from the flooding that is going on, especially up north of the Kansas City area and off to the east of the KC area. We certainly hope for a quick recovery for all of those folks. So here we go. Boys 300-meter intermediate hurdles. Blanks in lane 4. And he is away quickly, also out very fast. That is Lynch. Lynch of Winnetonka trying to get out to a quick run as well, but here comes Blanks as he just starts to hit the accelerator and starts to pull away. 4 hurdles to go. Blanks well out in front, and now comfortably out in front. Stutter steps that one. Has such good power in between hurdles. That one he hits perfect. And 1 to go. And he wins as Blanks clips the last hurdle, but comes away easily. Not sure he eclipsed the 40-second mark. Really didn't get off to a great start. He kind of just sat back the first 3 or 4 hurdles, Chet, but then once he got into the corner, he really started to pull away.
And you just see his pure speed in between each and every one of those hurdles. He did clip that last one and shaking his head there at the finish. He's not really happy with his time, but you can just see how explosive he is with his leg kicks over the hurdles and pretty smooth over just about all of them. Obviously clipped that last one, not real happy with his race overall, but beginning of the year, we're gonna see this guy really improve, and able to keep that balance at the end is impressive.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. He knows that that was not one of his better races. 41:27 is the time, so well off his seat time, well off his season best, 39:62. Here are the final results of the girls' 300 intermediate hurdles. In 6th place, Gabriela Mesa of St. Teresa's. In 5th place, Alisa Strong. In 4th place, Marcelina Martin. 3rd place, Lena Otto of Lincoln Prep. Winnetaka's Amaya Davis finishes in 2nd place. And Mackenzie Pearson of Center wins the race with a time of 46.5. Team results for the women. St. Teresa's is in 1st place, 78 points. Lee Summit in 2nd with 55. Lincoln College Prep is 3rd with 52. Raytown is 4th at 49.5. And Smithville is 5th with 37 points. Center next in 6th place at 35. Right now, those are the team results following the 11th event and the 300 intermediate hurdles. So here are the results from the boys' pole vault earlier. William Hall of St. Michael finishes in 1st place with a jump of 13 feet 6 inches. Dustin Crosby of Belton next at 10 feet. 3rd place, Braden Talley of Harrisonville, 9 feet 9. Braden Donaldson of Lee Summit, 8 feet 9. And Sailor O'Brien de Oberon of Odessa at 8 feet. In boys javelin, it is Jermaine Hamilton Jordan of Lincoln Prep. A nice throw, 151 feet 8.5 inches. Mason Gaffoy of Belton, 141 and 3. Rylan Feeney of Lee Summit at 138 feet 4 inches. Nolan Boyer of St. Michael's is next. Girls high jump, Delaney Hupke of St. Teresa's. A nice jump, and this is a nice jump, 5 feet 4 inches. Sarah Fletcher of Lee Summit, 4 feet 10 inches. And then Hosa Oben of Lee Summit, who finished in 3rd on the number of attempts, also jumping 4 feet 10 inches, so not too bad in that. It is time for the girls 800. Again, a double waterfall start. Everybody in on this one. And we'll run down the field for you as they get underway. You see the outside lanes running in lanes 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then the inside stagger running in lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. When they get around the turn right here, then they will blend in. Hopefully everyone comfortably. It looks like we'll get a number for you here.
We have 19 runners within this.
Yes, and this is a big field, and the number bibs are going to
Dyson Hanks of Grandview, Valencia of Raytown, Sparling of St. Michael, Tuzin out of Center, McMillan out of Central Academy, Flarup out of Belton, and Ward out of Central Academy. Michaela Clark out of Lee Summit has the top time, 2:26.81. Massey out of Lincoln Prep at 2:30. Lily Cutler also in this race out of Smithville. You saw her earlier. Emma Oding out of Lee Summit. Maddie Douglas, St. Teresa's. Jaden Yoder, out of Smithville, who you saw earlier. Anna Alberton out of St. Teresa's. Kaylee Harp, Harrisonville. Kelsey Cochran out of Odessa. Fatima Flores out of Grandview. Riley Duncan out of Odessa. And Lillian Rose out of Raytown.
And that is Michaela Clark, who has gone 2:26 already. Starting to power away from the rest of the field. She is not really maybe a prototypical half miler. She doesn't have great height, but she has great leg turnover. See her very smooth right now.
and has a seed time of 2:26.81 on the year, the top time in the state of Missouri. Anna Carner out of Lafayette Wildwood out in the St. Louis area, 2:22.73.
And that is fast in high school for this time of the year. But powering away, Michaela Clark at the head of the home stretch now. Michaela Clark, less than 100 meters to go. Good arm swing and has great leg turnover. That is a smooth, smooth run. She is already at just 2:12. She could hit the 2:22 mark right here. Definitely going faster than her seed time. Just hits 2:20.21 and 2:22 and change. Not too bad at all. This is Emma Oding of Lee Summit, who finishes in second, and it is a big sprint between Yoder, Cutler, and the rest of the field as they hit the finish line all in a pack.
That should be the top time in Missouri this year, if under 2:22.73. I know it's early, but pretty quick time to open out the year.
Boy, and that was very, very close to, like you said, being an outstanding time. She did not go through the 400 particularly fast. It was plenty fast, but she really ran a great last 200 meters, Chad. That made a big, big difference in that race. She really got fired up there at the end. We'll try to see if we can get an official time here as we get ready for the boys 800 meters. 23 in that race, so they will, I am guessing, split them up with this. Michaela Clark, 800-meter run winner. Walks off the track. Well, she looks like she could do it again. That was a smooth, strong run by the Lee Summit athlete. So here we go. Let's run down heat one of the boys 800 meters. Josh Grayer of Harrisonville in lane 1. Cole Kidwell of Odessa in lane 2. Yannick Kolb of Lee Summit in lane 3. Dalton Brown in lane 4. He's from Odessa. Belton's Brandon Hooper of Belton in lane 5. St. Michael's Cooper Garlick in lane 6. Landris Christian of Central Academy in lane 7. Gabe Mead of Harrisonville in lane 8. Cody Sylvie of Grandview Christian in lane 9. Darren Kearney of Central Academy in lane 10, and Frank Grayson in lane 11, and they are just doing one heat, so we'll go on. Daniel Rogue, Luke Thermoshusen, who won the 1600 meters, Brian Perkpackle, Nathaniel Hartman, Namaden Ahmed, Rayvon Epperson, Nick Bolton, Xavier Hammett, Sebastian Gibbon, Maiden Ahmed, and Harold Cheney, and then Jordan Lowry Riggins. If you want a big field, this is it. 23 runners in the 800. That starts to get to be a little bit much. This gets really crowded. I know they have the waterfall start, and that allows them to put up these bigger numbers on the track. They usually don't like to start with any more than 18, but they're going to put a full field in here on this one.
Well, I know in the Kansas meet, when we cover that every year, there's 16 in the finals, and that seems like too many within that. So more runners within this field, but
I think one thing about this is this is going to be a little bit strung out. There are some runners in there that are not running quite to the pace as the others. Obviously, you got to look at Thermoshusen, Pappel, Hartman, Ahmed, and Epperson. Epperson finishing in 3rd place in the 1600 meters. Ahmed finishing in 2nd. And this could be a race that's a little more in his wheelhouse. He has got very, very good speed. And they are off. That is a big stack of runners. Fortunately, they are well strung out here. And going out in front immediately, that is Thermoshusen. And giving chase right next to him is teammate Hartman, Daniel Hartman. That is Luke Thermoshusen. Looking very, very smooth. Remember, he just about had a very unfortunate crash. He tried to lap a runner on the inside of the track and actually took a step off the track. Fortunately, avoided any kind of collision. Boy, he is sailing through this one right now. He is on his way to a pretty nice time. It's going to be about 60 on the nose, so it's not nearly as fast as it looked. It looked much faster than 60 seconds. But he is really starting to turn it on now and pulling away. There is just no one that is going to give chase, and he is going to leave no doubt on this one.
And he's new to this race as far as being a sectional qualifier, because he's a guy that's a sectional qualifier in the 1,600 meters and a cross-country guy that we mentioned is going to the Naval Academy at the next level. So it looks to be struggling a little bit right now, but he's still far enough out in front at this point as his teammate coming up within second place on here in Nathaniel Hartman, who has a 2:10 coming in here. So this is a pretty quick time right now that you're seeing here out in front for Smithville.
And you see the grimace on his face. Still looking pretty smooth, though. That's a nice arm swing. Starting to flail a little bit. But for the most part, strong Nuke Thermoschusen. Hits the 2-minute mark right there. It's going to be about a 2:06. As he hits the line just under 2:06. Not too bad, St. Michael's. Daniel Rogue finishing in second place. Or in third place, I should say. We'll have the complete and official results coming your way in just a few moments. Last couple of runners are finishing. Up next, the girls' 200-meter dash. We will follow that up with the 4x4s. As the last runners coming in. And while we get ready for the 200-meter dash, let's take another time out here from Grandview, Missouri. The Grandview Bulldog Invitational on Spectrum Sports. Back with more after this. Here we go with the girls' 200-meter dash. This is Richter, Maddock, and Jones in lanes 3, 4, and 5. In the 200 meters, we'll have several heats of this. And out in front, in lane 4, well, it's going to be a close one. This is Richter and Jones in lanes 4 and 8. Not sure who got that one, Chet. That was a close finish here in the first of 2 heats. See what the lean is like. And it is in lane 8. That's Kashana Jones. So here we go in lane 1. Ayla Smith of Central Academy, Tristan Oberon of Odessa, Serenity Dean of Winnetonka, Alzera Lewis of Center, Ibli Megbemena of St. Michael's in lane 5, Era Foster of Belton in lane 6, Chanel Watts of Grandview Christian in lane 7, and Aronia Umms of Grandview Christian is in lane 8.
We'll see some pretty fast times here in Heat 4 within this. There are 4 different heats. We'll probably see some low 26 as the top time in the state. Amari Grimes out of Fort Osage, a senior there, did that back at the Bob Ford Invitational on the 22nd of 25:58. So you'll see some quick times here, but 4 total heats of this. We're in heat number 2.
Have a moment here. Let's run down the boys 800-meter finals in 5th place. It is Ahmed of East in 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Hartman of Smithville in 4th. In 3rd place, it is Perkapple of Winnetonka, a time of 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Running 2:07, Daniel Rogue of St. Michael. And the winning time, Luke Thermoschusen, a time of 2:05.94. Not too bad for this time of the year. A little bit chilly. And it is still very, very early. And like you said so well, Chet, that's really not a race that's in his wheelhouse. I think that's more for a workout than for a race. Coaches tend to do that to some of their longer kids, put them in some of the shorter races, get a little more sprint work in. Here we go. In Heat 2 of the girls' 200-meter dash. Coming around the corner and to the head of the straightaway. And in lane 1, that is Smith out in front, wearing the all blue with the black leg stocking. On her way to the finish line and hitting the line in about 28 flat, 28 and change. So Kellis Smith of Central Academy, the winner in Heat 2 of the girls' 200-meter dash.
Section 3, we have Adriana Como out of East. Also in lane 2, Keandra Reed out of Raytown. Lane 3, Erica Williams of Lee Summit. Lane 4, Micaiah House out of Lee Summit. Lane 5, Jadai Weston of Grandview. Lane 6, Brittany Alfalter out of Odessa. And in lane 7, from Grandview, Taylor Friday. And from East, Jasmine Banks in lane 8. Section 3 of 4 and the time finals of the 200.
Michaela House and Jadai, who goes by JD, according to her coach. It's easier to say.
Way easier.
Erica Williams of Lee Summit. So the two Lee Summit girls, and then Weston from Grandview. You got to figure are a big part of this. Williams going 28 flat, 27.95 for House, 28 flat for Weston. And really, Keandra Reed, a 28.6, so that's not bad either. 28.7 for Taylor Friday of Grandview. This is a whole host of some pretty good runners here, and this is the third of 4 heats. What you will feel is the fastest heat is still coming up here in just a few moments. Following this, the girls and the boys 3,200-meter runs.
Set.
And then the 4x4. Heading into the home stretch of our coverage of the Grandview Invitational. We appreciate you being with us on a Tuesday evening. Here they come, Heat 3. And at the head of the stretch. In lane 3, that is Williams. Now in lane 1, that is Camo. And she powers away for the win. The Kansas City East runner, Adriana Camille, wins in Heat 3 of 4 of the girls' 200-meter dash. Still one more heat to go. And Chet, this one could be a good one.
Yeah, we have some sub-27s within this. In fact, a 26 flat within that. And we've seen some of these girls that we've talked about earlier in the relays for St. Teresa's gonna be in this race. Lane 1, Lexi Mose out of Smithville. Lane 2, Emma Chevalier out of Smithville. Lane 3, Shelby Butts. You remember that name from earlier out of Raytown. Lauren North out of St. Teresa's Academy, who has a 26 seed time, the fastest entering. Sanai Kinchin out of St. Teresa's next to her in lane 5 has a 26.5. We mentioned Butts has a 26.76. So look for lanes 3, 4, and 5 here. Lane 6, Adriana Pratt out of Lincoln Prep. Lane 7, Ashley Johnson out of Winnetonka. And lane 8, Zena Ezuego out of Center. So pretty fast heat here, everybody under 28 seconds entering as a seed time.
Yep, this one is going to be fun. And the boys coming up in just a few moments as well. And that could prove to be a pretty interesting, especially heats 3 and 4.
Lane 8, are you okay?
Which are looking pretty stout as well. So we're ready to go here. They stand at their blocks.
You okay? All right, here we go.
This track is pretty firm, and so you always have someone holding your blocks for you or keeping them stable and set. Track is this firm and as chilly as it is. Blocks can tend to slip a little bit. Great facility here and a great meet. Boy, they put on a good meet here in Grandview as we are off and running, and that is Shelby Butts quickly trying to make up the stagger and giving chase as they round the corner. It is St. Teresa's. And it's Shelby Butts trying to give chase. Can she get there? Starting to pull even, and now starting to pull ahead. And the winner of the 400 looks like she has just won the 200 as well, as Shelby Butts did not get off to a great start, was sitting back in about 3rd or 4th place, but in the last 75 meters really turns it on and comes away with a win. Chet, look at her in lane 3.
Yeah, just when you thought that she may have been out of gas there, and you saw her run the 400 and win that earlier, just stayed right with her stride and kept on at her pace and got her right at the finish line and really exploded there to the finish in such good form on the run. We've seen her several times today. Very, very impressive.
Well, you see how still her head is, just so smooth right there in that run. 26-31, Shelby Butts, the Heat 4 winner of the 200-meter run.
Thank you, ladies.
And we get ready for the boys' 200-meter dash. 3 runners. Andrew Sambata of Grandview Christian does not have a time, but we have already seen him run, and we know he is more than capable of putting up a pretty good number. Braylon Harvey and Bryce Percival make up the rest of this first section of the boys' 200-meter dash. They are in the blocks. Again, the first of 4 heats. Now they're up, and they are away. That is Belton's Braylon Harvey. And now it is a dead heat. This is about as close as you can get. Andrew Sambata starting to pull away a little bit. Sambata still pulling away as he heads towards the finish line, and he breaks the tape at about 24 and change. We'll get an official time here in just a little bit. Not a bad time. There are still, of course, 3 heats left to go. And we still have several runners, Chet, that don't have times yet this year, so we'll have to see what they're capable of doing as well.
And that's a scary thing sometimes going into a time final like this. You don't know really what you're against with teams that are not teams, individuals without times. And then really kind of a log jam section of 3 and 4 here, because there's a lot of people all in the 24, some in the 23s. But it's going to be difficult to maybe sort out here between sections 3 and sections 4, because so many people run right around the same thing. There's not a clear-cut favorite out of everybody here. A lot of similar times that we're going to see in heats 3 and 4.
Let's take a quick rundown of the girls' finals of the 800-meter run. Lily Cutler of Smithville in 5th place. Emma Oding of Lee's Summit finishes in 4th. Kaylee Harp of Harrisonville finishes in 3rd. Maddie Douglas of St. Teresa's runs 2:32.59 for 2nd. And Michaela Clark of Lee Summit, an outstanding 2:21.97. And that is a great way to start your track season right there.
And that's the fastest time in the state of Missouri this year. Coming into this meet, Anna Carner of Lafayette Wildwood at 2:22.73. So not only beats it pretty easily there. It's certainly going to get faster, and you'll see in the teens and maybe the 2:10s, but very, very fast time.
Here comes heat 2. And out of Smithville, this is Luke Cush making up the stagger. Cush in the all green and the black with the white running tights. Now being challenged on the inside by Roberson. It is Cush and Roberson. And Roberson starting to power away, and in 24 and about 4 ends up winning heat 2 of the 200-meter dash. So let's set up heat 3. This is Leon Lamont of Center. Desmond Wright of Lincoln Prep in lane 2. In lane 3, Jaden Wilson of Harrisonville. Blake Heitman of Odessa in lane 4. Arthur Goss of Winnetonka in lane 5. Jamil Phillips of Lincoln Prep in lane 6. Noah Riker of Smithville in lane 7. Michael Jones of St. Michael's is in lane 8.
Updated team scores.
Take a check of that finish. And Roberson.
Smithville with 49 points. In fourth place, Lincoln.
Really pumping those arms, getting his hands very, very high. Good arm swing as he just begins to pull away in the last 30 meters and wins by a step. But still 2 more heats to go. We just gave you the lineup for Section 3. Lamont, Wright, Wilson, Heitman, Goss, Phillips, Riker, and Jones. It is Heitman, Blake Heitman from Odessa, a 24:18 so far. That is the fastest seed time in this heat. The fastest seed time in the meet belongs to Davian Franklin of Grandview, who has gone 23:20 unofficially so far this season.
And this could be a neck-and-neck race here because you don't have a lot separating you here from all the way to 24-1 to 24-9 in lanes 1 through 8 within this race. So it could be a neck-and-neck race, as we mentioned earlier, in these heats 3 and 4.
We've already seen Blake Heitman run a couple of times today as well. Sprinter's getting a lot of work. And this is a big field. There are 14, 15 schools in this track meet, so we'll keep you up to date on the scores as well as we get them. Team scores are being kept. They are in the blocks, ready for Heat 3, and they are away. And quickly making up the stagger in lane 2, and that is Wright, Desmond Wright. Now here comes the inside help as Height still out there in front from Odessa, still trying to stay in front, being challenged, but he pulls away and wins of 24 and I think about a 10th for Blake Heitman. I believe he held on to win that. We'll have to get the official timing as soon as it becomes available.
A nice challenge there by Riker. I didn't get to see the finish line where I'm at, but Riker looks like he kind of got it there at the end, but was unable to tell.
And I think you're right. I think Riker may have just did get him. Yeah. In fact, Heitman finishes in 3rd place. In 2nd place, that is Goss, that came away with 2nd in a tight race. Malik Warwick of East is in lane 1 for the final section of this 200-meter dash. Dallas Turner of Grandview in lane 2. Christopher Pouncil of St. Michael's in lane 3. Davion Franklin of Grandview in lane 4. Lane 5 is Austin Van Buren of Odessa. Center's Brian Kuby is in lane 6. In lane 7, Oman Mohammed from Lee's Summit. And in lane 8, Malachi Warwick, again in lane 8. And again, you want to watch Davian Franklin of Grandview, 23:20. And then Christopher Pouncil of St. Michael's, 23:32. And Van Buren of Odessa, 23:27. That's lanes 3, 4, and 5. You see them there getting ready to get this race underway. This could be a good one.
Yeah, Rod, we have 6 people within this race, sub 24. And really, we could say all of them are, because 24 flat isn't sub 24, but it's close enough to say that all these could be a neck-and-neck race here. Not a lot separating these guys as far as seed times, but you never know in a head-to-head situation what's going to pan out here, whether it's going to be 1 through 8.
Following this, it's the girls' 3,200-meter run, and you'll want to watch Smithville's Riley Kokonowitz, as she has already eclipsed the 13-minute barrier this early in the season, and for 2 miles this early in the year, that's not too bad. So she'll be running in a field of 6. That'll be coming your way. Following that, the boys' 3,200-meter run. Grandview's Angel Roca is the #1 seed in that at 10:46. And we see these times and you think, well, some of these times are not, what you might think, especially in the distance races. But again, in distance races compared to the sprints, you are working towards a goal at the end of the year. As we are finally underway here in the 200 meters, coming up on the inside in a hurry. In lane 4, that is Franklin. Davian Franklin starting to power away and putting some distance between the rest of the field. Davian Franklin in lane 4 as the Grandview Bulldog wins the 200, and he did it with a time that was not spectacular, but more than enough, 23 and change. Let's watch the finish, and Chet well in control in this race.
Yeah, really kept his form there, and as you can see, the kid definitely looks the part as a sprinter within this, and a solid finish to hold on with the lead there in the win in lane 4.
As he cruises through. So, a nice win for Davian Franklin, 22.94. He is the winner of the boys' 200-meter run. Let's take a quick timeout. When we come back, it's the girls' 3,200-meter run as coverage of the Grandview Bulldog Invitational track meet continues following this timeout on Spectrum Sports. Here we go with the girls' 3,200-meter run. They got him up to the line, didn't get him up cleanly, so they back him away again. Now they run up to the line, and we're underway. So again, this is Kokonowitz, Riley Kokonowitz of Smithville, who is part of what we have seen today is a good group of distance kids. Kokonowitz has a seat time of 12:59 so far this year.
And just a sophomore, also part of that 2018 third place Class 3 state cross country team that we talked about earlier with Jaden Yoder and Lily Cutler. So Smithville definitely representing here today in the distance races.
Well, we'll see what happens here. We do have one scratch, so we're down to a field of 5. One of the runners from Belton choosing not to run. That was Emily Morgan. That is Caitlin Saunders, who is in third place. She does not have a seat time, so we're not sure what we will find from her. Selena Aquizo of Lee's Summit has a 13:01 this year, so if anybody is going to challenge Riley Kokonowitz, that would be her. And they sit 1 and 2 right now. Just looking down at the clock, this is where you just want to keep your pace. You don't want to do anything drastic. You just let this race play out. It's basically a 2 or 3 person fight right here. The random element we don't know about, of course, is Caitlin Saunders, because she has not put up a seat time this year. She is the runner, the tall runner in the purple over black in third place right now. But it looks like that Kokonowitz and Urquizo want to put some distance between them and the rest of the field, so they're starting to pull away a little bit.
This is always one of those races later on in the year when it's 80, 90 degrees out, that it's 4 o'clock. You don't want to run it necessarily. Some meets it's ran early, some meets it's late like this. Today, it's one of those days that doesn't matter, but when it's May, when you're going for a state title, a little bit different conditions within this race can certainly change some things.
Well, it does. And you figure your body temperature goes about 60 degrees over ambient temperature. So if you are running and it's 55 degrees, you're figuring somewhere around 110, 115 is what your body temperature starts to run at. That is not, of course, your temperature as you would take it with a thermometer, but that is the feeling, the heat index that your body feels from exerting that much effort. So you can add quite a few degrees, and as that temperature starts to go up, that index starts to rise as well exponentially, and it becomes very uncomfortable. You get above 60 degrees in a 2-mile race, and it starts to get, if the sun is shining, that is certainly more than enough. You can run pretty comfortably in the 40s. So they are looking very comfortable right now, and Kokonowitz trying to put a little bit of distance between her and her competitor, now about a 10-meter difference. Not overly fast, about 3:10.
And this is one of those races that you can improve on your time so much throughout the year, just because it is the longest race in high school track and field. At least it is in the state of Kansas. I know certain states have different races. Are you surprised a little bit by that, Rod? Because you see in cross country, races a little bit longer, that the 2 mile, or I guess as we call it, the 3,200 is the longest race that we have in high school track and field?
And there's still a lot of question as to, there are still some areas, some states around the Midwest that still run 2 miles for cross country. And it's kind of hard to know. Because I think the one argument, especially on the girls' side, to running 5,000 meters is that when you move up into college, you're still running 5,000 meters. Now, granted, there are some NAI schools and some conferences where the girls would move up to 6,000 meters and the men move up to 10,000 meters. Most colleges, it is still 5,000 meters for the women and 8,000 meters for the men. And that is where the question comes in, is do you want to jump this up to a 5,000 meter run? There's obviously time constraints with that. You're looking at running 2 races that easily take 20 minutes to 30 minutes to run each, depending on the competitors and the level of the meet. So that certainly, I'm sure, is being taken into consideration as well. But right now, in most states, it is still just a 2 mile. I wouldn't mind seeing a 2,000 steeplechase. Not a 3,000, but a 2,000. There are some high school meets, if they're running at a college track, will actually do that just for fun. Have a 2,000 steeplechase just for someone to be able to run and get used to something like that. That is certainly an animal all unto its own when you're talking about track and field. A mile and 7/8, and you're looking at 30 barriers to jump during that time, and that gets to be a big task for distance runners. Nearing the 5:30 mark, and it's still Riley Kakanowitz, now leading by about 15 meters. Looking very smooth. Part of that Smithville cross-country team and that distance team. We saw them win the mile. They finished 1 and 2 in the 1,600 meters. Did not fare quite as well. Went 6 and 7 in the 800 meters just a little while ago. That was Yoder and Cutley. But now Kakanowitz is leading the 3,200 meters right here. Although Selena Acquizo is not letting her get too far away, and there is still a lot of race left to go. While we have a moment, let's do the finals of the girls' discus. Chet?
Yeah, Michaela DeShazier, she is one of the top throwers in the United States out of Lincoln Prep. It was 141.10 today. Not her best. She has the Class 3 record at 159 feet, 10 inches. She also won the shot put, which I'm sure we'll touch on here in a bit, but just one of the best throwers, not only in Missouri, but the country. Definitely representing here today, but also some other solid throws. Rebecca Stucker out of Odessa with 131.2. Both of those marks probably just outside the top 60, 70 in the country, so outstanding throws.
And in the girls' triple jump, Mackenzie Pearson of Center, 36.3. That's not a bad jump to start the year. Tori Henry of St. Teresa's, 35 feet 9 inches. Jalen Bedell of Lincoln Prep, 35, 1.5. Juliana Lupicio of Winnetonka, 34.10. And Michaela Carson of Raytown finishes in 5th place, 33 feet and 2 inches. On the boys' long jump, Kennedy Nwarneri of Grandview, 21.5. Desmond Wright of Lincoln Prep, 20 feet, 11.5 inches. Micah Manning of Lee Summit, 20 feet, 7.25 inches. Anthony Triplett of Winnetonka, 19.6. And Mario Cheatham of Grandview Christian, 19 feet, 4 inches. 21.5 is not too bad. Chet, shot put results.
Justin Akimlo out of Grandview, 55.3.5. That is an outstanding throw there today, winning by 15 feet today. Second place within that, Alicia Turner out of Grandview, 40 feet 3. Within that, Mason Gaffui out of Belton, 46.5. Larry Smith out of St. Michael in 4th. In 5th place, Cody McKimmons out of Smithville.
And in girls shot put, Michaela DeShazer. We just talked about her a little while ago. Lincoln Prep, 44 feet 7 inches, an easy win. Kayleani Hoskin of Raytown, 38 feet 2 inches. Rebecca Stucker of Odessa, 37 feet 11. Cameron Cadenhead of Lincoln Prep, 36 feet 11 inches. And Emily Steinbeck of Odessa, 33 feet and 7 inches. Nice throw for Michaela DeShazer, once again a gold medal winner. Back to our 2-mile action, and you see on the screen there, that is Riley Kakanowitz, who is starting to put a little more distance between her and Selena Urquizo. You get right here at this point of the race, you just want to stay as relaxed as possible. You see Kanowitz's hands starting to get a little bit high. Urquizo also with her hands up towards her shoulders, trying to keep as much energy in your arms as possible. Have a little reserve power if you need it for a kick at the end. But right now, it is just a relaxed run. You see Kakanowicz shake the cobwebs out of her arms a little bit. Back of your arms start to get heavy. Your forearms are the things that give you power when you run, especially in the 800 meters race like that. But it's the stamina that you carry in your triceps, in the backs of your arms, that help you keep you upright and help keep that arm swing where you want it, so your arms don't start flailing side to side. That is a very important thing that I think some runners overlook a little bit, is the amount of endurance you can put in the backs of your arms, in your tricep areas and in your forearms, to try to keep yourself relaxed.
And how important are some kicks, you know, that you see in these 1600s, these 3200s? You look out there and you think somebody running like this doesn't have a kick. They're running at a lot faster pace than you think out there. It looks like they may be jogging, but some of these girls have a sprinter's kick, you know, and maybe a little bit deceiving by watching them on the track as 2-milers, 3,200-meter runners, where they can turn it on and sprint a little at the end.
Well, there's nothing more dangerous than a 3,200-meter runner that has an 800-meter mentality and has some of that talent to bring it, because, yeah, it does make a big difference. If you can put in, you know, a 40-second last 200 meters when you need it, that can be a pretty good weapon late in the season, and even faster in some cases. So we'll see what happens here. We have a few laps left. Riley Kakanowitz still with the lead. Urquizo still right there within striking distance, but you have to think Kakanowitz just staying out there at arm's length, trying to keep Urquizo in place. Also running, that is St. Piper of St. Teresa's, Alex Dalecki of St. Teresa's. They're running third and fourth. Caitlin Saunders, who ran the first part of this race in third place, starting to labor a little bit. She is sitting back in fifth place. But here come your leaders on the screen. Passing down the front stretch one more time, 11:28, 11:29, 11:30, and officially on the clock. It is not going to be an overly fast time, but at this point of the season, it doesn't need to be, as they get the bell lap. One more lap for Riley Kakanowitz.
And I know we've seen it at state meets before, certainly, with some freak athletes out there. But how rare is it for somebody to go out and win 400 through 3,200? We've seen people entered in that. And one that, you know, comes to mind to me is Jackie Stiles, who played at Missouri State, then Southwest Missouri State, which 18 years ago, leading them to a Final Four. Now an assistant there. She won 14 of 16 in Kansas and did the 4 through 3,200. I mean, how rare is that to see in high school track and field?
She also ran cross country and played the state tennis meet in the same weekend too, won. So yeah, pretty much an all-round athlete. And we certainly hope state of Missouri enjoyed getting to watch her play basketball at Southwest Missouri State as much as people on the other side of the border enjoyed watching her play in high school basketball. So 12:42 with about 150 meters to go. Again, it's not going to be an outstanding time, but it is going to be more than enough. Riley Kakanowitz, very relaxed, not even using a whole lot of arm swing as she just starts driving towards the finish line here, as Urquizo cannot mount any kind of challenge. Kakanowitz, it will be about a 13:15. So certainly not her best of the season so far, but it is enough. Riley Kakanaways at the finish line, and the Smithville runner wins the girls' 3,200-meter run. It's about a 13-18, 13-19 for Urquizo. Sing Piper and Alex Dalecki making their way towards the finish line right now. And that is Sing Piper of St. Teresa's. She finishes in third place. The clock's still running, and it's really not a bad time, 13:49. Here comes Dalecki, who will finish at about 13:35. Again, official results will be coming your way here shortly. And Saunders still with a little bit left to go. Caitlin Saunders of Belton, Missouri, her first 3,200 meters of the season. Starting to power her way home. And the Belton, Missouri runner will hit the finish line in about 14:26 and change. So that is the completion of the girls' 3,200-meter run. It is time now for the boys' race. And again, following that, some of the best races in track, the boys and girls 4x400-meter relay, something we definitely are looking forward to. Let's go over the boys' final results of the boys' 200-meter dash. In fifth place, Dallas Turner of Grandview, 24:16. Noah Riker of Smithville, 24 9/9 of a second. Running 23:99, centers Brian Kuby. Odessa's Austin Van Buren finishes in second at 23:45, and running 22:94 from Grandview, Davian Franklin is the winner of the boys' 200-meter dash. The leaders after 14 events as we head into the home stretch of this meet. Grandview is easily out in front in the boys' standings, 137.5. Smithville is next, just 58 points. Lee Summit third at 54. St. Michael is next in fourth place at 51. Odessa in fifth. Belton in sixth. Lincoln College Prep in seventh. Winnetonka is in eighth place as we get ready for the boys' 3,200-meter run. And they're off. Angel Roca, Ian Foster, Alan Scott, Sebastian Given, Noble Kleppel, Jackson Grove, Eric Lopez, Tommy Baker, Deontay Brown, Jack Wheeler, and Ben Landman. Ben Lahan. Your lineup for the boys' 3,200-meter run, and Chet, just a very relaxed start. Everyone just going out to a lot like the girls' race, just trying to get settled in and see where the chips will fall.
And you don't expect to see any too fast of times today. Roca does come in with a 10:46.67, which is your top seed time, but you can certainly shave a little bit of that off. But a lot of the people all kind of in the same time zone. Foster of Smithville also at a 10:59. Callan Scott of Smithville at 11:15. So Smithville, as we've touched on, definitely has represented here all the way from the 800 to the 3,200 today, making it known that they can run a little bit of mid-distance to distance.
In fact, they are heading for the front with number 3 on his hip. That is Talon Scott. And you can make some big jumps. The thing about the distance, especially in the 2-mile this time of year, you can make some pretty significant jumps from your first race to your second race. You just learn a little bit more. You're just in a little bit better shape. You're not quite so sore from working out, doing the hard workouts at the beginning of the year. So it gives you an opportunity to maybe get a little more rest than you might prior to running a race like this. So it is not out of the realm of possibility of knocking off 10, 15 seconds off this race from what you've done the first heat of the season. So we'll see what happens here. Alan Scott now giving up the lead. That is Ian Foster. They run pretty much shoulder to shoulder.
8th place, Michael Higgins.
It is Grandview's Roca. Again, comes in with the fastest time. He has been under the 10:50 mark, looking very comfortable, and that is Sebastian Given from Lee's Summit in 4th place. On the inside, that is Centers Ben Lahan, wearing 11 on his hip. And now here comes Roca making a move, pushing his way to the front. And Roca decides that he's going to take control of this race. He tries to force the issue, and then as soon as he does, it is a push as well by Foster. And then Talon Scott. So Talon Scott decides that he's not going to give up the lead that easily. Roca trying to apply a little more pressure. Scott decides he's going to stay out in front. Then it is Roca, then Ian Foster. The two Smithville runners bracketing Angel Roca.
And Roca may have just a little bit of a kick. He was on that relay earlier on an anchor leg, so may have some speed that maybe some of these other runners don't necessarily have.
He's not a svelte runner. He is not. It doesn't look like your prototypical distance runner. He does have a little bit of size to him, but certainly is more than capable of putting up the number. Everyone's just very relaxed right now. 3:45 as they come around. It is not a really fast heat. This is still with 5 laps to go. They'll hit the 4-minute mark at the 3/4 mile mark. As they come to the finish line one more time, Scott still in first, Roca in second, Foster in third. It is Given in fourth. Lahan was there for a little while. You see him back in 5th place, but he is really starting to labor. He's talked about trying to keep your arms clean. You see that he is really starting to labor, trying to stay up with the leaders right now. It's also Given that is starting to fall back.
And much as physical battle as everybody's in out there, with their feet beating against the track out there, trying to be in shape this time of the year. You know, how much of this race is a mental race as well?
It is. It is a mental race. You're not feeling your best. You're certainly not in as good a shape as you can be in. If there's any plus, it's not the middle of the year where you really start to feel going to meets. You haven't started to taper yet. You haven't started to speed up yet. What you're going to see from distance runners is they're going to get all their mileage in, and as this mileage starts to pile up here in the middle of the year, it can start to be a little bit of a struggle. You can really start to labor. Then you start to do what you call tapering. You start running shorter distances faster and start doing maybe a little more speed work, getting out, maybe doing more quarters, more 300-meter runs, more repeat miles, things like that help get your speed back up. And when you do that, then your time really starts to fall off then, and you start getting where you want to go. Remember, these guys in the 2-mile will have their league meet, their district meet, their sectional meet, and their state meet if they go to all 4. And running races that competitive, that hard, 4 straight weekends, you're pretty much on vapor by the time you get to the state meet. We've seen that before in some races where it gets very, very hard to put up those numbers. And there are a lot of times where, if you can and you're lucky enough, you don't put in your biggest effort maybe at the league meet. You got to maybe save yourself for some things. So decisions have to be made. That, of course, is still a long ways off. We're still about 8 weeks away from what these kids hope is a trip to the state meet. Certainly some of them more than capable. We have seen some great running. High jump has just been completed. We'll get results for you on that as they come around for the mile mark. Here are some of the highlights from the boys high jump. And we'll have the results for you here in just a moment.
Which Dante Cox of that won it today of Smithville at 6'4". Eric Bucks out of Central Academy, 6'2", and missed on fewer, so he got second. Jermaine Yarbo out of Grandview In third place, 6'2", Joseph Wooten out of center, 6 foot, and then Ricky Greer out of Central Academy, 5'8". So not a bad opening jump at 6'4". Pretty common to see that. Boys discus, 141 foot. Justave Ackerman-Load out of Grandview, 141 foot. Wins by almost 20 feet. Brandon Lane out of St. Michael, 121.8. Cade Kill out of Odessa, 117.8. Cody McManus out of Smithville, 117 foot. And Elon Moore out of Grandview, 113.3 for the boys discus.
Pretty good throws. Aiken Malden with a nice one, 141 feet. They are through the mile mark and heading down the backstretch, coming around to complete the 5th lap. And again, nothing on the real fast side, certainly more than enough. One thing that we are noticing as we come back, and that is Foster and Scott are starting to put some distance between Angel Roca. So Foster, who has eclipsed the 11-minute mark, and Talon Scott, who seated in at 11:15, again showing that they certainly have much more than that. They look very relaxed. You saw Scott or Foster look over at Scott and actually say something to him as they pull each other along through the 6th lap rather, in 8 minutes and 22 seconds. But Angel Roca does not have an answer right now for the Smithville pair, as he is quickly starting to lose contact. And he could end up being in that area where you are just running by yourself, and that is not a fun place to be. There's just nowhere to hide when you're out there exposed in the middle of the race. That is Given still in 4th place. You see him back about 30 yards from the leaders. Foster and Scott still in 1st and 2nd. The Smithville pair in the green over black, working their way around to what is going to be the bell lap. They will start to reel in a few slower runners, and now you see Roca starting to kick a little bit. This is Angel Roca trying to close in a little bit. He is back to within about 10 yards of the leading pair. He is trying to get himself back in this, but is it going to be enough? He has got a lot of ground to make up with just 400 meters to go as they hit the finish line with just 400 meters left. They will get to the line at about 9:42. There is the bell lap, and it is still Scott in front. This is Foster in 2nd. Now Foster moves to the outside of lane 1 and powers by Scott. Foster trying to put some distance between he and his teammate. Roca still trying to give chase. He is back in 3rd place, trying to close what is about a 10-meter gap to the leaders.
Foster, a senior, Scott, a sophomore, both of these Smithville kids, part of the 2018 3rd place Class 3 state cross country team. So boys and girls both outstanding in cross country, and we're seeing a little bit of that today in the distance for both sides. But do remember Roca here, we talked about it in the 4x8 earlier, had a little bit of a kick. You didn't see it much, but he does have a little bit of 800-meter speed as an anchor, so keep that in mind here as they come down the final 100 meters.
And here he comes. He's going to get Talon Scott, and you look at the mouth wide open of Ian Foster, and here comes Roca. Angel Roca trying to power down the inside, and he goes inside, and now to the outside. He had more than enough left as he just sprints to the finish line, and Angel Roca wins in 10:55, but it could have been significantly faster if he had run a full race. He just simply sat back and then sprinted past both Foster and Scott for the win, and Angel Roca wins again in about 10:54.
And he doesn't even look tired.
He just really toyed with them. Took a little bit of a chance going on the inside. You see Foster, he just doesn't even try to mount any kind of challenge. He is just content to finish in 2nd. You see Roca looking back. And Angel Roca wins the boys' 3,200-meter run. Getting a few pictures and a pat on the shoulder. 10:55 flat for Roca, the winner of the boys' 3,200-meter run. Up next, it's the girls 4x400 relay. We'll have 2 heats of that. St. Michael, East, and Center will be in the first heat. And then, excuse me, 7 runners in the second. And that includes St. Teresa's Academy and Raytown. That should be a great race. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back with the boys, or the girls rather, 4x400 meter relay next from the Grandview Invitational. The Grandview Invitational, part of the Hy-Vee Game of the Week. Hy-Vee, the official sponsor of High School Spirit. And we appreciate their backing and a great track meet this afternoon. Let's take a check of the girls' standing. St. Teresa's in first place, 112 points. Lee Summit next at 79. Lincoln Prep right behind them at 70. Raytown fourth rather at 67.5, and Smithville in fifth with 59. Boys results coming your way here in just a few minutes. Of course, it looks like St. Teresa's cannot be caught, so they are going to win the team title. But Lee Summit, Lincoln, and Raytown certainly have plenty to settle for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, and all can be decided on a relay like this. You see St. Teresa's, what they've been able to load up in some of these relays today in the sprints. Very impressive.
We are underway, and just 2 runners or 2 teams in this. That is Center and St. Michael's. So Nada Coleman and Abella Mena for St. Michael's. But this is Center out in front right now. Coleman running first. She will hand off to Morris. Eva Petrini waiting for St. Michael's. For Center. I said St. Michael's, and my apology, that is East. Kansas City East. Kansas City East is out in front. We do not have names for them. We apologize.
Do have the same uniform as St. Michael, though.
Second leg in this first of 2 heats of the girls 4x400 meter relay. We have got some pretty good ones coming up here in the second heat. Raytown has gone 4:14 already. Lee Summit 4:15, and St. Teresa's 4:20. So there's a lot to be settled there before all is said and done. 148 at the top. This will be about a 2:20 time at the 800 meters. Center trying to give chase. That's Michaela Morse. See her in the screen there. This could be hard to run when there's just 2 of you. I mean, there's no one to chase. There's no one to go after unless you are very, very close. That is Fiedler, Zelia Fiedler, you just saw on the screen. This is the anchor leg for East. And we apologize, we do not have names for them. They are going to win this heat of the 4x4, and they're going to win it in large fashion right now. Just 200 meters to go. Kansas City East about to win the first heat of the girls 4x400. Again, there will be 2 heats, and then 2 heats of the boys.
One more leg on this, actually.
There's one more leg. Yeah, actually one more leg. They're running fast, but they're not running that fast.
I was like, if they're...
Yeah, that would be 3:20.
I thought it was the last leg, too. Then I started looking at the time.
That would be 3:20, and that would be really bringing it. So, no, there's still 1 leg to go. Be boys teams that would like to be running 3:20. Just a very relaxed handoff. one thing they need to realize, you know, if you're in a close race, that is not going to be an option. You can't just do a standing handoff. Here, you take it. You've got to, anymore now, handoffs in the 4x4 are becoming almost as important as they are in the 4x1 and the 4x2, which you saw here earlier today on Spectrum and the Grandview Invitational. And those almost become just as important, especially if you're in a crowd. If it's a close race and you are in a big knot of people, you want to be able to get clear, and a good handoff like that can give you 2 or 3 steps in a 4x4, and that is a big deal. You see Rudder looking over her shoulder as she...
And you mentioned those handoffs. We could see that in the next race. I mean, you got 2 teams, you know, 4:14:30, 4:15, and a 4:20 team with 7 teams within the race. So handoffs almost nearly need to be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, here we go. This is the end, and it's almost a 200-meter win for East as they come through in 4:42. So certainly it is not anything that is going to compete with what lies ahead. Their seed time 4:50, so they do eclipse that. But there are some big guns coming up here on these teams that lie ahead here in the 4x400. That includes St. Teresa's, Raytown, and Lee Summit, who are all at 4:20 or better. After that, it becomes a little bit wider margin to the rest of the field.
It should be an outstanding next heat here with Odessa in lane 1, Grandview lane 2, St. Teresa's in lane 3. They come in with a 4:20 this year. Lane 4 is Raytown with the fastest seed time at 4:14.3. Lee Summit at 4:15, Lincoln Prep at 4:30, and Harrisonville at 4:35.63. So we do expect St. Teresa's, Raytown, Lee Summit competing towards the top, but you know, a couple people run their best races of the year within this. You never know what can happen in a 4x4, especially when some team points become on the line in the last race of the night, and you don't have to run anything else, so you're going to give it all that you have.
We talked about just how close this was between Lee Summit in the team standings. Lee Summit in 2nd, Lincoln is next in 3rd, Raytown is in 4th, and Raytown and Lee Summit you think are going to figure in this race here, so that could make a big change. But really, in all truthfulness, Raytown actually cannot catch them. They can get to within a few points, but they can't overhaul Lincoln Prep for 3rd. So there is still a lot at stake there, but it looks like Lee Summit is going to finish in 2nd place in the final team standings here unless something changes drastically. Lincoln Prep has a 4:30 so far this year. They would have to run significantly faster than that if they are to come away with anything here in the final team standings if they want to make any kind of jump. So we'll see what happens. Stranger things have happened. We've already seen a couple of dropped batons and a couple of missed handoffs that created some disqualifications today. Other than that, really, it's been a pretty clean meet for this early in the season. Things have gone very well. And again, thanks to everyone here at Grandview. They have done a tremendous job of running this meet. They've made this pretty easy today.
Yeah, it has been the Hy-Vee game of the week. An outstanding atmosphere here in Grandview. Great facility, great track, and a lot of great athletes here with some pretty good times to open up the 2019 season. And of course, it was great weather as well, so it's nice to see a competitive atmosphere this spring to really kick off this season for what we hope is an outstanding spring for all spring sports in the Kansas City Metro.
Lots of softball, lots of baseball. We'll have more on that schedule, what is coming up for baseball and softball, especially softball on Spectrum. We head towards the postseason, of course, the games of the week, all of the other things. And we'll be back with more track later on next month as we are underway here in the 2nd heat of the girls 4x400 meter relay. It is very dark at both ends of this track, so it is a little bit hard to see. The lights are great for football, but it gets a little bit on the dark side at both ends of the track, so we'll try to get the numbers for you here. Looks like Harrisonville off to a good start on the outside.
Let's go, Katie. Push, Katie, push.
You see as they make up the stagger now, starting to labor a little bit. See when they come around for the stagger. As they come to the start-finish line, remember, this is a staggered handoff. It is lane 4 right now. That is Raytown. It will be much easier to tell where things stand as soon as they come around the corner. Remember, when they get around the corner, they will break into the first lane as they will make up the stagger here.
And Alicia Strong coming through about 63 seconds for the Blue Jays of Raytown. So pretty good leg for an opening leg for the 4x4.
Right about 90 seconds at the 200 mark.
And guess who on this leg?
Guess who's up in lane 2? You could tell that one, and that is Shelby Butts, who has had a great meet, won the 400, came from out of nowhere to win the 200, and is powering leg 2 of the 4x400. She has had a busy, busy day, and she just looks so relaxed. That is one key. She is so fast, but so smooth. It just does not look like she is putting a lot of effort into this. She is really running well. She's going to get the handoff away in about 2:03. St. Teresa's in second place, just now getting to the finish line.
About a 62 on that second leg there for Butts. Pretty outstanding.
That is Raytown. There goes Lincoln. They're in 5th place. No, it is still Raytown out in front.
Taraya Baker on the 3rd leg for Raytown. The anchor leg, as scheduled, at least to us, is Michaela Carson. So Raytown off to a pretty fast start here in the final event of the night.
Again, a seed time of 4:14 coming in, and they are putting a lot of distance between themselves and the rest of the field. In fact, it is a lead that is approaching 50 yards right now. Carson to get the final leg. Not a great handoff, just kind of shuffled after that one. Here comes St. Teresa's.
Baker with about a 65 on that 3rd leg there.
Now Raytown looking so strong right here. Look at that lead. That is more than enough. We could have a change for 2nd place. A lot of pressure coming up from behind. You see the 2 runners there really trying to do battle. But Raytown in a class all of their own, 3:55 at the home stretch. And here comes Carson, Michaela Carson, and Raytown's girls 4x400. The winner, and in lane 5, or the bib 5, that's Lee Summit. And then St. Teresa's, Lee Summit finishes in 2nd. St. Teresa's ends up in 3rd. And in 4th place, that is Harrisonville. Harrisonville will come home in 4th in the final standings of the girls 4x400.
And Raytown right at their seed time. It looked like around 4:14, well, 4:15 flat. So
well, there
just
you
a
go.
little bit slow of that, but 4:15 flat. Very good time for entering with 4:14.3.
You see Carson a little slow getting up. A little bit leg wobbly, but now getting herself off the field with a little assistance. This race will make your legs a little rubbery. So here we go with the 4x400 for the boys. Belton in lane 3, Center in lane 4, East in lane 5. This is one where the times are not spectacular yet, but again, we have talked so often here today, it is still plenty early, so still a lot left to go here and a lot of time left to cut off. You just figure a second or 2 seconds, and you're right down there just about where you want to be. So that is certainly possible. 2 might be a little bit of a reach. 1 certainly isn't. And it looks like...
Are they running these heats together? Or?
That's what I was wondering. It looks like...
So we had 10 teams scheduled.
Oh, no. They're just getting the other runners out.
Okay. Which here you also got to watch within this because, you know, this is a time final race. I know these times aren't great. One of them not, but they'll still be in the conversation for at least a place to get some points.
We are getting ready again. It is a little bit dark out at the end of the track. You see the one light that is on the bus. It's not as bad live as what you might be seeing on your screen, but our monitors definitely show that it is dark down at that corner. So we will get everything we can for you as it becomes available. You know, and this early in the season, there are probably some teams that may have scratched this. So it looks like we may be just going with one. We're going to try to find out for you here.
It's a lot of teams scratching if that's the case.
Well, and it is. But, you know, the 4x4, as cold as, I mean, I shouldn't say it's cold, but it is chilly, and it has been a long day, and it is still quite early in the season. And there are bigger meets coming up here. So, but now they tell us it is going to be 2. So we'll get everybody lined up and get ready to go. While we get ready for the start of this, boys triple jump finals, and that is Johnny Brackens of Lee Summit. That is a nice jump, 47 feet 9 inches. Kennedy Nawanurny of Grandview, 45.2. Isaiah Metzdorf of Dessa, 42.11. Isaiah Valhos of Belton, 40 feet 10 inches. And Marcus Dixon of Grandview, 48 and a half. Brooke Day in the pole vault winning with a jump of 10 feet. Allison Todd of Winnetonka, 9.5 feet. Skylar Kunsch of Belton, 8 feet. Beating Zanner from St. Teresa's on jumps, as well as Sammy Fiedler of Lee Summit on jumps, all 3 going 8 feet.
The long jump, Lauren North of St. Teresa's, 17.8. An outstanding jump, Mackenzie Pearson, not far behind of center, 17.5.5. Leah North of St. Teresa's, we've heard both of those names in the relay, 17.2. Sydney Futrell out of Odessa, 16.10. And Emma Chevalier out of Smithville in 6th. Looking at javelin, Natalie Tellup out of St. Teresa's, 136.10. Sarah Fletcher of Lee Summit, 112.8. Leah Wagner out of Odessa, 106.7. Haley Stapleton of Smithville, 98.4. And Joelle England out of Winnetonka, 96 feet.
It has been a great day of track and field, and we have just a couple of more races left to go here. Not sure what the delay is, but we're waiting for something here. Ah, that's it. Somebody needed a starting block, and I don't know if they tried to put him away early or what, but we've got it taken care of now. That is Odessa, who was trying to find some starting blocks. Now we're ready to go.
And just how effective is a starting block?
You're asking a distance runner that?
In a relay. I mean, I was at a small town meet last week in Kansas with 1A schools, and I saw kids standing up starting in the 100.
Yep.
So you see everything.
We have, you know, and there are different ways to start as well. We have seen people that start without blocks. It works both ways. In the quarter, probably not as important as we are finally underway here. We got the blocks set. When they come out of the dark, we'll let you know what we have here. And it is a fairly full field, certainly more than what we anticipated. And this is Winnetonka, who is out in front. But of course, remember, it is a very large stagger at the starting line, and you really know just where you're at by the time you get around to handing off on the third leg, the second exchange between the second and third leg. Right now is Odessa looking strong. Also, it is Lee Summit in the lead. Lee Summit still out in front. And they'll make the exchange first. And it is a good one. Now, that is a good exchange. Boy, they got that on the run, did not break a stride. And you can just see what that did for them. That got them at least 2 or 3 steps.
And about a 52 on that first leg there for him, which is a pretty good start there to put them out in the lead.
Is St. Michael's in second place. There's Odessa, Minnetonka, Belton, Center, and Lincoln. And it is Lee Summit out in front. And they will hit the handoff at about 140. 146 as they get it away. Now notice how much he ran before they handed it off. That was an excellent handoff. There is St. Michael still in second place. Odessa now has made it into third.
54 on that second leg there.
And the third leg for Lee Summit off to a great start. If that holds up, he is going to make this a runaway. St. Michael's and Odessa still running second and third. Boy, Lee Summit looking really strong here in this event. Driving home. That is Lee Summit still out in front. St. Michael's still in second. That is Grandview. As the handoff is away. At 2:48, there's Odessa getting the baton now. Lee Summit out in front and by a comfortable margin. St. Michael still in second. Grandview and Odessa. But Lee Summit powering towards a win here in the boys 4x400 meter relay. Looking at a time of around 3:35, 3:36 as they get to the line. And it is a 3:35 and change for Lee Summit. It is St. Michael's finishing in second place. Lincoln ending up in fourth place. Lee Summit 3:35, the winner of Heat 1 of the 4x400. So Lee Summit, it actually is just one heat. There was a little bit of confusion as to whether there was one heat or two. We obviously had some scratches, so it was just one heat. And there you see Lee Summit, St. Michael's, Grandview, and Odessa. There's your first, second, third, and fourth. But Lee Summit made that a walk in the park. They made that look awfully easy, Chet, as they power away to a win.
Yeah, 3:35 flat, and obviously just over their seed time. We look at the final standings of the girls. Congrats to St. Teresa's Academy capturing the Grandview Invitational, 151 points. Lee Summit in second, Raytown in third, Lincoln Prep in fourth, and Smithville in fifth.
So the final team standings, again, thanks to, congratulations to St. Teresa's. Boy, they were just strong in the relays. They got things started off by winning the 4x8, the very first event of the day. And they really just dominated throughout the entire meet, so congratulations to them. Boys 4x400, it is in 5th place Lincoln College Prep, 4th place Odessa, 3rd place goes to Grandview, 343.44. St. Michael's finishes in 2nd at 339.17, and Lee Summit wins the 4x400 at 3:35. And here are the final team standings for the men. Grandview wins the meet rather easily. They almost double up on Smithville. 185.5 points, Smithville 95.5. Lee Summit ends up in 3rd with 80.5. Odessa 73. St. Michael's ends up in 5th with 71 points. Belton is 6th with 52. Lincoln College 46. Winnetonka in 8th with 32. And then Central Academy, Harrisonville, Kansas City East, and Grandview Christian rounding out the rest of the field. It has been a great day in Grandview, Missouri at the Grandview Invitational. Chet, boy, a great way to start out the track season.
Yeah, it's nice to get some marks under your belt. It's nice to get some races ran this year, and obviously some outstanding finishes for some people. We look to see them improve upon it. Obviously, the Shazier stands out to me out of Lincoln Prep. We saw the Brackens kid out of Lee Summit. Several athletes, a Smithville distance. Too many to name today, but overall, great weather and a great day in beautiful Grandview, Missouri for the Grandview Invitational. Congrats to St. Teresa's Academy for capturing the girls' title and Grandview for capturing the boys.
And the Midland Marble and Granite MVP of the meet, well, this was not really too hard to figure out, as Shelby Butts is the MVP of the game. She did just about everything. She was great in the 100, great in the 400, great in the 4x4, and really just did it all. And Shelby Butts deserving of the Midland Marble and Granite MVP award for the Grandview Bulldog Invitational. Congratulations to her.
Yeah, an outstanding meet for her and made it look so easy. Such a smooth runner and fun to watch.
Our thanks to everyone back at the truck for making this run so smoothly for us, all of the cameramen who stood out there in the weather that got a little bit chilly. And Chet, great to work with you. We'll do it again soon.
Great to work with you as well, Rod, and looking forward to another meet later on this year, and had a fun time in Grandview calling some high school track and field.
You bet. It was the best, and it was a great way to start off our coverage of high school track and field, the Grandview Bulldog Invitational. That's going to do it for our coverage today on the Spectrum. For Chet Copeland, I'm Rod Zook. So long, everyone.